Yes, I get to do my drum roll again. Yay! Welcome everybody to the Nightmares Podcast. I'm of course Mark, your MC, as most of you know, or these guys say I'm annoying. But anyway, I'm with the usual suspects.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Zach. What's up?
Zach and Miss Des and Miss Squirrels. We are actually coming to you right from Ghoulish Mortals in St. Charles, Illinois. That's why you see a lot of really cool shit in the background. But we're gonna get to all these this cool shit individually. You also see it in the B-roll, which is always great. So, but more importantly, I'm sitting here with Amy and Lon from Amy's Abominations and Black Martin Brands. Thank you both so much for coming here. We really appreciate it. And we're going to talk about society the entire interview. Not about your brands or your business. We're going to just talk about that. Now you get an opportunity due to technical difficulties to tell your story all over again about how you tortured Amy.
Just to mention, now it's become something that society, repeating the same stories of society just brings it all back to your head.
I know, right?
And it makes you just kind of, want to go home and cry a little bit.
I did.
Yeah, right.
And Brandon's smiling because he's the cause of my tears.
Your delicious tears.
That was kind of evil though. Did it plan like you were not supposed to walk until the end?
I came there for a production meeting and then I walked in and I'm seeing the holy fuck scene on there, and then literally the crazy part is it's not at I didn't catch it in between. I caught it right at the beginning, right when they joined the party.
Oh, when it just started.
When it just started.
Yeah.
By the way, kids, don't go to orgies. This is the warning.
You'll find out why.
You'll find out why. But please share.
Yeah.
I want to hear.
But because that is a thing. That is a thing. Like, when you come in, you still think it's normal, even though they're starting off with this whole thing, and then you're like, okay, well, this orgy thing, it's kind of weird, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, wait, now it's getting a little bit silly. Wait, I can't watch this anymore, and then you're like, holy shit!
Yeah, this flesh cannot possibly be doing this.
Surprise!
Yeah. It is crazy. It was, so she hadn't seen the movie yet, and at the time I was like, okay, we're going to watch this movie.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
I've seen it,
Enough.
I'm almost embarrassed to say more than once in the
Don't
past.
be embarrassed, be proud.
Yeah, right.
I've seen it more than once.
Yeah. So I decided to show her the movie and whatnot, and she hadn't seen it before, so it's normal 80s schlock at the beginning, and it goes through its normal progression, and it's still, an interesting movie going up to that point.
Yeah.
But,
something weird's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Just all the incest, whatever. But,
Well, that's when it starts. And she's kind of, but she's a horror veteran too. She's watched a lot of horror movies, so it's not like I thought I was going to really shock her or anything. But when it did get to those points, it was more like one of those, oh, okay. Oh. All right, this guy's going to pull his face out of his ass.
And then his head becomes
and
his ass.
And he's laughing and smiling about it. And it's like, that's when you're like, all right, she's still with me. So
I know that every single one of us has society stories. I walked in at the holy fuck moment,
right?
And then I literally came to their apartment to record a podcast. So I already had the pent up aggression and fury and shock and all the emotions that I could possibly have, and I just vomited them into this podcast.
In my defense,
there's a defense to this.
Yes,
that was the night we were recording our body horror episode.
Yes,
and I was doing research.
He was, in fact, there was a reason why he was doing this.
That's kind of like prep, actually. I think that legitimizes it. Because you got to prepare for that conversation.
And I'd watched David Cronenberg's The Fly and From Beyond right before.
Oh, see, From Beyond, which is almost the same kind of theme.
Yeah. Produced by the same guy.
Yeah, right, same guy.
I think we'll put a link to the other podcast below to hear me rant at like the 15-minute mark. Although I did make a joke that they all lost it, which was super great. I was like, enough KY jelly to zook back, to slick back Danny Zuko's hair.
It's close, but
it's close enough. It's close enough. So I know for a fact that so Brandon's the cause of everybody seeing that movie. Just so you know, like he's the one that introduced.
You don't have to be ashamed.
Oh no! I'm not ashamed. I've seen it twice now.
I'm happy I've seen it. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
The craziest part though was going to the
music box
and seeing normal people there and trying to figure out. I think I was sitting next to you, and we were trying to figure out who's the person that's seen this before and who's the victim.
I had the best seat in the house that
You did, and which leads me perfectly directly into your story. Yeah. Tell them, how you got involved with this and how this whole.
So am I telling my whole journey of society?
Why not? It's been a while.
Okay, wow. So
it's been a while.
The journey then.
My book report, Brandon's journey through society. So how I found out about it was I think I came across some list of top 10 body horror movies or something like that.
Right.
I saw one called Society, and they were just the poster. It was just the poster of the woman in the girl in the dress, and her face is pulled off or something. It's a very weird poster, kind of hard to describe. But I was like, that looks interesting, and I just kind of forgot about it. And then a little later on, Arrow was putting out the Blu-ray of it, and if you see the Blu-ray cover of it, it's basically they make it look like it's made of flesh, and there are all these faces.
Yeah,
and
all amalgamated into one. I know that one. I know that cover. Yeah.
And I was like, "What is this movie?" And I look into it, and I recognize that poster. I was like, "I need to see this." So I ordered it, and I watched it, and I really liked it.
And he thought other people would like it. He was wrong.
And I did think other people would like it.
No, he was right.
Depending on how you look at it.
Flash forward later that year, around Halloween time, or was it Halloween?
It was Halloween.
It was Halloween time. This gentleman and our friend Wes come over for a movie night. And
shout out to Wes.
Basically, I told them I picked something that I think you two are really going to like, and that was Society. In fact, on Facebook, I even posted a picture of me holding the Blu-ray case, and Wes is in the background looking at the TV, completely oblivious that I'm taking this picture. And I put the caption, "They have no idea what they're in store for."
Awesome.
Zach, I'll let you handle
Wes is the Wes portion of the story.
Oh boy. Okay, so we're watching the movie, and it gets to it's the first 15 minutes of the movie or so, and the sister and the brother having a conversation, and Wes just comes out of nowhere, just she's giving him the fuck me eyes.
like the Lion King Nala fuck me eyes from the Lion King.
So he saw it coming?
He saw it coming a mile away. Well, not the whole ending bit, but he's just he
nobody saw the ending
bit
coming.
Each other. He's just what the fuck is this?
And then there's the later line when the kid's therapist asks him, "How's it going?" And the kid just very casually says, "Oh, it's going pretty good, except for the incest and all." And then I set Wes up the wall.
I still don't know what box to put that in mentally. I don't. There's not enough 80s cocaine to let me forget about that movie.
Right. So we go through the movie. Wes was scarred for life. So is this one.
Scarred for life. I'm like,
you were born scarred for life.
I think I did black out parts of the movie though, towards the beginning.
It's okay, everybody does.
Then flash forward. The next part of my journey through society is Mark's part of the story. I was watching it for research. He just happened to come in.
I love that, watching it for research.
For scientific purposes.
For science.
Microscope and everything.
And then the next time we saw it, the Music Box Theater was hosting a screening with Brian Usna in attendance for a Q&A afterwards. Yeah. And he actually autographed my Blu-ray copy afterwards.
Nice.
Which was awesome.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Really cool guy.
Super nice. Super normal. Super normal. Very, very nice guy.
Dude.
All the scary ones are.
I know, it's crazy.
It's just the way
we were talking about that with Wes Craven and all the other ones. It's nuts.
We had a pretty sizable group. Most notably were David, who's the one executive producer of Midwest Horror Network who couldn't be here today.
Oh, right.
And our friend Jill. Neither of them had seen it. Neither of them knew anything about it. He knew the ending. He had already seen it. Our friend Vinny had already seen it. And was there anybody else there with us?
No.
That was no.
So there were only two of us who had never seen it before, didn't even know what it was about. Just walked in 100% cold.
So was everybody else giggling when the parts came out?
I was sitting in between them. I had the best seat in the house that night.
Guess who was the one who was disturbed?
There's one who was disturbed and one who was overly joyed by it.
David was the one who was disturbed. Jill was the one who was excited.
Oh man.
Jill is probably one of our favorite camera ops in the world. Another shout out to Jill. We named a lens after her.
Yeah.
It's the fisheye lens.
Yeah, we have a 7.5 millimeter fisheye lens that is so wide it just sees everything.
Nice.
And she's a very small person, and there is a set we were on. It was one of his short films, and we were in a very small room. We put the fisheye lens on. and like I said, she's very small, very tiny. She is up against the wall like this, off. Technically, actually, a little behind the camera.
Really?
And I had to lean over
Yes.
to her and say,
Crazy.
"Your arm is still in frame."
Wow.
So she's like, how? How? I'm child size. She's an absolute sweetheart. Just a really, really talented person. So now I think all of her society stories are out.
They'll come back.
Get out of the system.
Out of the. Well, I mean,
It'll resurface.
For now.
Amy might bring it up later.
Probably not.
It might be like Tourette's. It'll be like, society. Brand Usenet. So now we get to go to my favorite part, which is talking about, and we can do this obviously individually, and then when you guys come together, we always talk about what's your journey. How did this whole crazy thing start for you when it comes to what you do and how you do it? Obviously you had mentioned that you've done effects and makeup work and masks and things like that a few minutes ago. Yeah. So I want to talk about that as well. So how does this crazy journey start? And since you're the closest and you have your little friend, and you're like, I need to hold him because it's society. So please, by all means, I'd love to hear your journey.
My mother is a huge horror fan. Everything from like the classics to Frankenfish. To the Feast trilogies, the Feast trilogies, like all of it. So when I was probably about 5 or 6, there was lived way out in the country, but there was a little store that had like a room where you could go in and rent VHS. So that tells you how old I am. We go rent VHS. So we went in there one day, and my mom wanted to pick out a movie, and I picked out a movie called Blood Diner. And do you know that one, Mark?
No, but we're adding it to the list.
Put it on the list. Put it on the list. Classic.
Actually, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
We actually do, in the very future, we're going to do a segment called Guest Request, where we all watch a movie and we record our reactions. If you ever
Blood Diner.
We'll do Blood Diner.
Yeah.
We'll do Blood Diner for you.
Awesome. Holds a special place in my heart.
Indeed.
So little elementary school me and my blonde pigtails and my little furry coat picks out Blood Diner. My mom's like, cool. 'Cause my mom was very like overprotective of me being out in the world, but when I was at home, she let me kind of watch whatever, knowing that I could like handle it or not handle it, but I always handled it pretty well, I think. So we're watching Blood Diner, and I don't want to spoil it, but there's a scene where, well, there are a few great scenes, but there's one scene where a lady's head gets put in a deep fryer and then gets hit off with a baseball bat. That's the second best scene. I can't tell you about the first one if you haven't seen the movie.
No worries.
So we'll save that for later. So anyway, that was sort of a good introduction. That's the first horror movie I remember seeing, although I'm sure there were some on in the background VHS.
Nice.
And so, all through high school, I watched horror movies. My mom, for Christmas, would get me Halloween stuff. So she kind of knew.
Socks. A lot of
Yeah,
Halloween socks.
I love Halloween socks.
I love socks.
Yeah. Who doesn't love socks?
Yeah, I mean, I'm wearing Star Wars socks right
Awesome.
now.
I have stripy socks.
There you go.
Boots. So when I went to college, I majored in theater production design and tech. So my main focus was, making hats and dyeing fabric and the accessories. So
Milliner. Didn't know what a milliner was.
A milliner, yes, made hats.
Milliner made
Nice.
hats.
Made
Hat
hats.
maker.
What's the difference between a haberdasher and a milliner?
Ooh, haberdasher's who sells it.
No, I believe that
Milliner makes it.
haberdasher's a male, maybe. That makes sense.
So-
I don't know.
oh,
Honestly, I don't remember. I
I-
feel like at one point in time I knew that, but I don't have as many brain cells as I did 20 years ago.
I mean, trust me,
So-
I
Yeah.
He lost all his 5 years ago.
the
Yeah.
alcohol.
Hey!
Hey!
Other stuff.
Well, there's that too. I'm Stephen King and I'm making movies.
No, not that stuff.
no,
Clear.
Don't forget this is
So-
on camera, Mark. It's still
Yeah.
illegal.
Yeah.
Can be used against your
oh,
partner.
well, we haven't gone skiing once or twice.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my major in college, and then for several years after, I worked for regional theater companies and opera companies, and worked as a crafts artisan. And then I decided that, long story short, I needed to get a grown-up job that actually made money, and so I did. I worked in a university setting for a few years, and that's where I met Lon.
She has a master's in education.
I also have a
I
master's
just wanted
in-
to throw that out there. Has nothing to do with this. But I don't know how she translates from
I
that to this.
could teach you how to do this and
Yeah,
come
there
up
you
with
go.
a syllabus. for
Well, I
whatever
mean,
it is.
that's part of what we do. I mean,
Yep.
that's part of we're all about the education, and we're gonna ask you questions on how to do some of this stuff.
Okay,
so
cool. So yeah, so Lon was working at the same place in the marketing department, and we had a friend that kind of like hooked us up. And
Yeah, Dwayne.
yeah, and the rest is sort of
Yeah.
horror history.
And all
in our
mushy.
house.
You don't want to hear
Yeah.
all that stuff.
the
Yeah.
no,
all good.
but you know what though? No.
You know, the typical, we got married on Halloween.
We did.
blah,
So
blah, blah, blah.
we
Yeah.
we've both been. That was one of our connecting points. Is that we're both ridiculously silly about Halloween.
And the
So,
scary movies.
and the scary and the gore and the blood and the society and the
You're in good company.
you know that kind of stuff. So literally, and this is true to today. It's we watch probably one horror movie every night, if not every 2 nights.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So we've seen horror movies that people haven't even heard of before, don't know about, and most of them that people have seen that we've seen. I can't remember some parts because it's
Yeah, you see so many movies.
Yeah, you see so many movies. You get so people like will quiz me on a mainstream movie, and I'm like, no.
Really?
But they ask me about Frankenstein girl meets, lava temptress. I'll know that one, and I'll be able to talk all about that one.
Strippers versus zombies.
Which was a great movie, by the way.
It was.
I loved
It was
that
something.
movie. So anyway,
Yeah, after we got together, we did a home haunt for a few years
Right.
out of our garage.
right, that was where our connections were going, right? So we were making things for our home haunt. We were making things for ourselves, just to decorate for Halloween. And we didn't go out and buy a lot of stuff. We made it, and
Nice.
because so my background in college too is actually I have a cinema degree. So I was already in that sort of realm of things, right? And I knew a lot of theater people, and because that's what I did. But my degree was in animation. I got it in graphic design too, and that's what I started getting into the marketing department of things, and that's with the business side, right? So that was what I did for my day job, and then at night I watched movies, and because I was cinema, I always reviewed and watched all the horror movies, and I hung out with my friends in college that were horror movie buffs, right? And that's what we did. And I started trying to write some movies for horror when they came out. And for instance, when Nightmare on Elm Street came out, I started writing a movie that was almost identical to The Dream Warrior, which was 3, I think. And then that Dream Warrior came out, and I got pissed off, and I tore up the script, and I'm like, God, that's my script. I don't know how they got it, but that, so.
It's like Ross trying to come up with Got
Right.
Milk.
Right. Right. So.
Should have wrote it down.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
that's super awesome.
Yeah, it was my introduction into that sort of stuff, but that was our connection for that. So we took a lot of the stuff that we created and we started making bigger things and different things. And she would always mess around with something, but when we met Dove and Warwick from Ghoulish Mortals, honest to God, it was a lot more of a feeding frenzy of ideas and
continues to be to this day.
and continues to be.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's like there's things that when we start talking about different things, like, oh, that's an idea, I got to make some of that stuff, and we'll
Let's
figure out
how to do this.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and we go through a lot of iterations. A lot of the stuff we'll build, and we don't like it, and we'll tear it apart, and we'll try to make something better out of it or whatever, and try to keep continuing and building off those ideas because it's fun.
Hell yeah.
And that's what we'd like to do for, a living,
Yeah.
which actually
Well, I mean,
It is now.
ta-da!
Yeah, right.
The,
It is what we do for a living.
so I was curious. By the way, you're in great company. The like Predator,
theater.
Predator at what age?
Hmm?
The
4?
I think David saw
Nice.
like Hellraiser at like 10 or some shit. The Brandon, I don't know, you're early on.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Alien and Aliens,
Oh, great show.
somewhere in the single digits.
And we
So
all
what
turned
was-
out okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure we did.
okay is a relative term.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wink, wink.
we did see Society.
See how it keeps working itself back? What was your first movie? What was-
at first
the one that anchored you in.
that anchored me into I have an interesting I caught horror late.
Really?
But I've been involved with film my whole life.
Sure.
So I've been I think I think one of the earliest ones for me was, and this is not really a horror movie, but it's one that sticks with me in my head, was Jurassic Park. Funny enough,
The scare factor is what got you.
Sure. You know, and the funny thing is that these guys may know this story. I'm gonna tell it anyway.
Yeah.
I started acting because of two things. One was I watched Jurassic Park, and then I would, because I have a crazy imagination, I would jump from a bunch of ugly green couches in our living room and pretend to be in Jurassic Park.
Wow.
But I was smart enough as a kid to realize that, wait a minute, I don't want to be in Jurassic Park because I could actually die.
Right.
I want to pretend to be in Jurassic
okay.
Park.
Right.
So I told my dad, I was like, I want to do that, and they know my dad very well, and he's like, well, that's acting, like, and here's what you got to do to go figure that out. The fucking sales Italian guy, kid, you know, this is what you got to do.
Right.
That's what you got to do. And then, funny enough, something that I still do to this day was back when I was younger, there was a place that would do themed birthday parties. And I went to my neighbor's house, or my neighbor's birthday party, and they had an archaeological dig in the back, because of course Jurassic Park was all the rage at the time. However, I had no interest in that. I didn't want to dig up dinosaur bones. I don't give a shit about that.
You just want them alive with the flesh and running after you.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to play.
Yeah.
And they actually had a stage in the front of them, and I pretended to I'd go use the bathroom, and I didn't want to wander back, so I ended up finding the stage in the front.
Nice.
And I went up on stage and I stood there for a little bit. I did a small performance to a bunch of empty chairs, and it's a tradition that I still do to this day. That when I'm ever acting or in this case producing, I try to go to the set early and I walk the set, or I walk the stage. And I've been doing it since I was 8. So that's part of how I started. Nice. And you know, and the horror movies came later. You know, I'm a big Scream fan. They're not. Oh yeah, that's right. Zach hates it. Zach hates
get to that too.
Yeah.
Zach hates Scream. But I'm a massive Scream fan because I'm a massive satire and parody fan.
Yeah.
So, but we're all a fan of Cabin in the Woods. So that was a great New Year's. Great New Year's. That was a fun year. It's a fun time. But yeah, you're definitely in good company with watching movies at a very young age and having influence. Actually, I think the first horror movie I ever saw, but I didn't watch the whole thing, was the remake, or the James Woods remake of House on Haunted Hill.
Oh yeah.
And I was actually not supposed to watch that movie, but I really wanted to see what was going on. And there's a scene where he goes up to check with the security guard who watches all the cameras, and he turns the chair around, and his face and his brain is missing. And I saw that at like 8, and it scared the shit out of me. But I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, I want to find out what that's all about. Yeah. So that was part of it. And I know, Zach, you've been watching horror movies since you were in the womb.
So long story short, my grandfather and my mother were the two people who I'd watch movies with all the time. My grandfather, action movies, Terminator, Alien, Predator, Schwarzenegger, you name it, Star Wars. And then my mother, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser, Mike, all of them. Wow. So I was introduced. She tried getting me into Disney movies. I'm just like, this is stupid.
When can Barbie's head, or when can her head get popped off? That's what I want to see. Disney.
Yeah, it's like I've been at I've loved horror movies and action movies my entire life. So yeah.
And
first movie though.
First movie
that you watched, and I know in the womb because your parents were watching it.
Yeah.
But which was the first movie that you saw when it came up? You're like, this is my life.
Wes Craven's New Nightmare. That was the early. That is the earliest like nightmare movie I remember watching because it was I believe she got it on VHS and that was the first one she watched with me.
Yeah.
And you know, she'd watched Charmed and stuff like that, so I'd kind of seen that with her and everything like that. But that was like my first like real introduction into like the slasher genre.
Wow.
So and then after that happened, I just started watching all the movies with her and everything like that. But the one movie she would never let me watch, Jaws. So I always wanted to watch it. We had it on our shelves, and I'm just, why can't we watch this one? There's a reason. And then like a little while later, she's just like, all right, I'll let you watch it. Fine. I watch it. Cool. There's a reason why I didn't let you watch it. Why? Because that thing's actually real. What?
That makes perfect sense.
Yep, yeah, that's the key because, you know, I think part of my mom's
imagination
thing was too, was that I knew what was real and what wasn't real. So,
I knew Jason wasn't real. I knew Freddy wasn't real, Michael, Pinhead, all that stuff. But the shark,
Yeah.
That's real.
And then he also swam with sharks in California.
Well, I was going to say, if you live near water, then that would be one good reason not to watch Jaws.
I was going to say, but yeah, after that, I became infatuated with
Wow.
the movie, sharks in general, and I've loved them ever since. And yeah, I swam with 3 baby blues for all of 5 seconds before they decided to take the bait and run, the little bastards.
Nice.
Dude,
Well,
piss.
Yeah.
It was short-lived, but at least you got to do it. That's
Yeah.
kinda-
True.
But,
Hey,
wow.
there's nothing more terrifying than staring into the bottom of the ocean. It's like, that's just black.
Yeah.
My nana showed Jaws to my cousins when my cousin Kevin was like 6. My aunt almost killed her. The entire so when Alex Kittner gets taken
Yeah.
and everything else, he didn't quite understand that the kid died. So every 5 minutes he would turn to my nana and ask him, "Where did Alex go?" And she said, "Oh, he went home." and after the 5th time of asking, my cousin Sarah got pissed and turned around and said, "The shark ate him, Kevin. Now shut up."
Wow.
The
Inquisitive kid, I guess.
but yeah, I mean,
You gotta learn sometimes.
I mean,
Yeah.
here's the facts of life. So what I wanted to hear your first
movie.
first horror experience or first movie.
First horror movie?
Yeah, why not?
I don't really have any specific full memories, but I just remember back when my family lived in Virginia, my brother and I would be in the basement, and he would show me Aliens, Predator, Terminator 2 on
Classics.
VHS in the basement. But then the first outright horror movie I remember watching was my parents were out for the night, and it was my brother and our cousin were pretty much just watching me. I was maybe at the oldest 8. I was somewhere between 6 and 8. I remember. It's a long time ago.
Wow.
But Nightmare on Elm Street 3 came on TV, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then later on in life, when I was 5th or 6th grade, that's when I finally saw the first Nightmare on Elm Street on HBO, because my parents had HBO and Cinemax, so I
Right,
got to
right.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
You grow up real fast with,
Yeah.
with
Right,
Cinemax in the house.
With Cinemax.
Yeah.
A lot of the Friday
You said it, I didn't.
movies.
I had to get all my movies from Hollywood Video.
Oh yeah, Hollywood Video was.
That was
perfect.
also where I saw the 1980s version of The Blob.
Oh
where
yeah.
the kid dies
Wow.
horrifically. And I was maybe 11 or 12 when I saw that.
I think I was also 11 or 12 when I saw that too, because my mom thought it was it was like the Steve McQueen one from the
It was
50s.
Stephen McQueen back
Oh,
then.
Stephen.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was.
Stephen
I'm sorry, it
McQueen.
was Stephen McQueen back then. Did we get to your
My
childhood
movie?
experience?
No. So okay.
I'm curious about you because we kind of caught up to your life story
Yeah.
when you met her,
We
but I
did.
want to go back.
We kind of got fried. I'm not even sure what timeline I'm on, but
Yeah.
so
All right, Marty.
When
When
when I was a kid, my dad used to work late. He'd come home, and everybody else would be in bed. So I'd get up, and the two of us would sit on the couch eating potato chips, watching Son of Svengoolie. And there was a specific movie that Svengoolie was showing called. It was a very old movie because remember he showed a lot of the vintage ones.
of course.
A vintage one that we saw called The Creeping Hand, which was about an alien, an astronaut who goes off into space, gets a space disease. He wants to return to Earth, but they say, no, you can't do that because you got a space disease. So they blow up the ship, and fragments of bodies go everywhere, but his hand somehow survives going through the atmosphere again and lands, and his hand goes around to kill everybody who did him wrong.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a great children's movie.
It's quality family entertainment right there.
But I remember
There you go.
watching that, and I guess about 5, 6, something like that. And it kept me up the whole night. I was scared the entire night. I was so petrified. For the next 3 nights, I had nightmares and dreams about it. And every time I woke up in the morning from that, I was like, oh, that was awesome. That was exhilarating. And I just loved being scared about that. It's very, very difficult to scare me now. But back then, the rush
Oh yeah.
got to me. I mean, I just love the adrenaline rush from all that stuff. So from that point on, I was always the one watching horror movies. And my parents supported it and stuff. But
Nice.
but I because even as a kid, I tried to have the haunted house in the basement, my parents' basement, where kids would come through and they did the old feeling the peeled grapes as eyeballs and the
Of
spaghetti
course.
as worms and stuff like that.
course.
But, I was 6. That's the extent of it.
Well, and your parents named you after Lon Chaney.
They did. My name is Lon, named after Lon Chaney. Well, technically, I guess Junior. But my parents used to go to movies and watch for names to come up, and they saw a Lon Chaney movie, and that's why they named me Lon.
I mean, hey, if you're gonna pick one, that's
Right.
that's the
That's one way of doing it.
That is very much
Interesting way
one
of
way of
doing
doing
it.
that. You know what, the one question I'd love to ask, because I've
Yeah.
asked them and I've answered it. But you know, you as being a filmmaker and involved in some film, what was the first movie that you saw that you went, I could do that?
The first movie that I saw that I thought I could reproduce or do.
Yeah, that you
sort of
could
movie?
actually go, you know what, I can make something like that.
You know what? That's actually a good question. At the time, I thought the movies that my friends and colleagues, or in school colleagues, were putting out were way better than a lot of the films that were actually being made and put out in Hollywood. So I kind of saw that as a lot of the films. I mean, there was I don't even know if I could pick out an exact one that I thought, oh, I could have done so much better than this.
Yeah.
You know, because I would have gotten John to do this part, and I would have gotten Bill to do this part, and we would have made it so much better. I don't think there was any specific movies, but
Fair enough.
And we would have made sure that the Pumpkinhead's Nikes weren't visible in the cemetery.
that's my favorite thing is finding all the flaws with some of these horror movies, and that's it.
Yeah.
Pumpkinhead, which
I
is one of
love
my
it.
favorites.
Love it.
There's a part where Pumpkinhead's walking through this old broken down church, and he's the actor's still got Nikes on. He does have actual monster shoes that he's supposed to wear, but he forgot them. So he
So you
just
can
wore
see
his
the
Nikes in the scene, and you can see it that he's wearing his Nikes. And if you go back to the remake of it, you know, the when they redid it for Blu-ray or whatever,
Yeah.
they edited the scene to cut out his feet, so you can't see it.
That's
You gotta go see
fun.
the original copy.
Shucks.
Whatever, we can find a VHS copy and
Exactly.
just burn it.
Exactly.
Or rip it.
Rip it. Yeah, no, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, now we can talk about your friend.
Okay.
Now we can talk about your baby,
My baby.
your baby, and some of this cool shit that's going on
Yeah.
back here.
So a lot of what I like to do is I get inspired by materials.
Mhm.
I don't always have like a plan of what I'm gonna do unless Dove or someone says, "Hey, do a mermaid or do this or do that." You know, I have like a lot of like stuff in the basement, which is where I work. Lon gets to work upstairs in the land of the people, and I get to work downstairs in the land of
Dolls.
the basement. Dolls.
The fun
And
part.
Yeah, the window is like, it does have windows, but they're like up to here, so it's kind of like being like buried a little bit. I think about that sometimes, which is I guess kind of weird. But I'll just get inspired by like materials or things that I see. We go into like estate sales and stuff, and so I see like vintage things sometimes that I want to reproduce, or I think about you know, maybe a movie I've seen. Sometimes when I start on something and I'm like, oh, I think this is what it's going to be, by the end it's something totally different. And I think that that's what I like about like the process that I have, because it's kind of freeing not to have a plan, and it's kind of freeing to be okay with thinking you've made a mistake. I've made plenty of mistakes and things, and Dove will come over to my basement and be like, I love that. And I would be like, I am ashamed of that. but if you want to put it in the store, go ahead. And something actually sold that I was really ashamed of. You know, I have, you know, like 10 projects I'm working on at all times. And some of them will get finished right away, and some of them will still set in the basement for a year.
Yeah, she does get obsessed with things sometimes, where that's all she'll work on for 3-4 days in a row. Well, she'll just, you know, hound on it and tear it apart and work on it and do little fine detail. And I don't have to be. I come down sometimes and I'm like,
It's like,
you're still working on that?
Working on that
Stop.
house.
Move on to something. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the house painting, you were painting
Yeah, and I'm like,
one of the houses.
I know, I was just waiting for you to tell me to stop working on the house because it's too much. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so you know, we've done a lot of shows over the past year. You know, Midwest Hunters and the Oddity Show and those sorts of shows. So I'm trying to get a sense of over the past year, like, what do people like? What sells? People like things with horns, I've discovered. So I've got some things with horns. People like flayed faces on boards. So
Yeah.
I had a really nice clown one that I'm like, I don't think anybody's gonna buy this, and it sold like right away. So I think I don't think anybody's gonna buy this. I had to like get over that and just be like, okay, I'm just gonna put it out there, because it's not like, you know, it's not like this is my art. You know, I don't have like, if you say you don't like this, I'm not gonna be offended. You know, like, it's something that I did. It's a creature or whatever. So in that sense, it's really great like therapy too, because I know that somebody will like this.
Yeah.
It might not be you, but somebody else might like this.
A lot of the stuff that we do too, when we start doing some things, we do it because we like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where we base things on. But since we also have to make money on this, we're also like, well, what do you want? What
Yeah,
do you
what do
like to
people
see? Because I'd like to try that, so we try to create things that are outside of our own scope of what we like and do.
Yeah.
And our main start with this whole thing is we repurpose things as much as we can.
Okay.
Because
Very cool.
one thing is it's we manufacture some things ourselves, and the rest of it, most of it, we craft out of things we've got, or we go out and source. But the point of that is, it's recycling. We used to say we take discarded, unloved dolls and give them their true form, what they really wanted to be, and that's what most of the stuff comes up as.
Yeah. And also, like I was saying at the trade shows, we have repeat customers, and
Yeah.
the first time, like, I found, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a repeat customer. Like, people are, like, coming back to us. Like, this is Lobster Girl. Lobster Girl only exists because I made a larger lobster boy that somebody liked and took home. So I'm like, okay, I'll make a girl version of it. Sorry, go ahead.
You got to give a shout out to your number one fan too.
Oh, Heather.
In case she's watching.
Yeah,
Hi,
Heather. Heather, I actually saw on Instagram now, like, she goes, Heather is like this tall.
Yeah,
She's
by the
like
way,
the
Heather's
cutest thing ever.
6.
She's 6, 7,
7
8.
or 8? Yeah.
And her dad Nick, we see them at a lot of shows, and they're a lot of fun. And we always see them dressed up. And she's I saw she has an Instagram now called Small Michael Myers. So she dresses up like Michael Myers.
She does. She loves being Michael Myers.
I give her stickers, and she puts them on her knife. And
That's
so
awesome.
she's like,
The next generation.
right?
She's great. Her dad's got her in the right direction.
Nah,
Yeah.
Some good parenting
He
going
does,
on
he
there.
does,
Yeah.
man. That's what I do with my kids too. It's
I'll
like
bet-
we watch horror movies and stuff. So
Yeah, so Heather, her dad said she likes green dolls. So I'm like, okay, I can make some green dolls that Heather might like. And so I get ideas that way too, or just people saying, oh, do you do this or do you do that? And for a while I was sort of like, because there are like, folks who want like a Pennywise doll, and I'm like, well, I don't really do that, but if you want to commission something, you can commission something and give people my card and whatever. But the stuff that I do is just like this stuff that kind of just organically comes from whatever materials that I have on hand and whatever dolls that we've gotten from places. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
And is this mostly Amy's Abominations up here, or I didn't, I would love to hear about the differences between the two businesses.
yeah,
And,
I can tell you. So we started off by doing Black Martin,
okay.
right? And Black Martin Brands is basically her last name is Martin. She kept her maiden name, and my last name is Czarnecki, which is Polish for black. So Black Martin, which also happens to be a bird. So that's our logo.
Nice.
Is the Black Martin, and that's what it started off as, to do products. And we've got an incredibly large array of products because we like doing everything. I do concrete skulls that you can throw in your fireplace. So you have like burning skulls in your fireplace or your fire pit or whatever. That will last. And what was some of the... Oh, and she started doing some other dolls. At the beginning, I'm like, well, these are
It's its own
creepy
thing.
as hell. This
Yeah.
has got to be its own thing. So we came up with a product line, or a division basically, of Amy's Abominations.
Very cool.
And we started doing those at the show primarily, thinking, this is what we sell. Our online store and our other stuff, we do some other things like clothing and jewelry and things like that. But at the trade shows, we do all our handmade stuff. We still sell pins and patches and stuff like that, but we sell the dolls. So that's why we started plugging straight onto Amy's Abominations as the primary entity.
Okay. Very
Right,
cool.
because that's what it tells. But then we started breaking out and saying, oh, well, we got to bring Black Martin stuff out here too, because that will sell. And that's what, so like the doll house is a Black Martin. The skull cloches that we've got here, those are Black
lamp.
Martin. But all the dolls that you see everywhere, those are Amy's Abominations, which is really a division of Black Martin.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So you should bring out this one too, because I like this one.
This
This is what Amy's Abominations
This?
I want to go into. Take Amy's Abominations more in this direction. Can you see her?
The
So the story of that was that we were at Goodwill and I saw this toy stump
Right.
that no other kid wanted.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm gonna get this toy stump. I'm gonna do something with it. And when I got home, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the perfect stump for decapitation.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
See,
how I did.
that's what
Love it.
right.
So yeah, so this all came about because I saw that kid stump at Goodwill, and it was a horrible like tan color. Preserve her decency.
Well, I didn't say that into the camera. She's probably got underwear. Yep.
Yeah, she does
Yep.
have underwear.
Does she?
Oh, okay.
But she doesn't have a head.
Yeah,
something
you
horrible.
know.
Yeah, something really
But
horrible
this
happened
is like an
to
old
her.
vintage doll that we found that would look perfect for this. It's nice
It's
articulation.
two different dolls.
We didn't have an axe, so we manufactured
made
an
the
axe
axe.
from scratch.
Nice.
Because that's just it. There's some things that we repurpose, and we try to do everything from repurposed something or other, right?
See,
Try
that's
to keep
cool.
out the
Okay.
landfills, right?
Yeah.
But every now and then you need an axe, and you got to have the right size axe, right? I mean, who has not come
Yeah.
across a time when they needed the right size
Right.
axe?
I mean,
Not
yeah,
wrong,
that's
Right.
important. That's
so,
important.
So
Yeah.
we have to manufacture some things ourselves, but otherwise we try to repurpose as much. All the fabrics, she's got
I have a
buckets
massive
and
fabric
buckets
collection.
of antique fabrics
Nice.
that you're not going to find anywhere else.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see a theme here
Sure.
that the dolls are pretty important to you.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like why dolls? Why did you start in that direction versus any other way?
Well, the actual
You know,
you were there.
Tell me about the dolls.
Tell me about
So
the
we
dolls.
came into Ghoulish Mortals for the first time. Probably like
years.
a couple
Year?
months after they
Yeah.
opened.
Yeah.
And Dove was looking for local artists, and she was like, "Oh, I'm looking for somebody to do dolls," and I'm like, "I can do that, maybe."
She,
Nice.
she was in the process of building the Demogorgon, the 8-foot Demogorgon
yeah,
out there.
yeah.
Nice.
That
Remember
was
that.
so. That's how long ago that was. So I was like, sure, I can do dolls. And Dove sent me a couple of pictures on Pinterest of the kind of stuff that she likes, which is different than the kind of stuff that I like. So I made a couple things that were more in the vein of what she was looking for, and then I started. I made some autopsy dolls. So I don't know if you see over there, but there's
Yeah.
one back here too
All
of
the eviscerated
babies
dolls.
who've had autopsies.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so those were some of the first
Normal.
Yeah, yeah, of course,
totally
naturally,
normal. Some of
naturally.
the first ones I did, and then some of the other things like the mermaid skeletons. That's a pretty basic one. But in the summer, Ghoulish Mortals had a table that was all mermaid themed. So Dove lets us know like seasonally like what she's going to be doing,
Nice, nice.
and then we try to help, and the other artists that are in the store try to help with whatever theme that is. So the mermaid theme we sell at the trade shows now, so I've got that. I've got bigger ones in shadow boxes. I've got one where it's like a mom and a baby. So just Dove put the original idea in my head, and I just kind of ran with it, and now I have a whole like series of mermaids.
Yeah, and a lot of the other stuff too is when she gets a doll, because we have a lot of dolls in the basement. When she gets a doll, she says it kind of speaks to her a little bit. She looks at it and what does it want to do or what does it want to be, and she will craft it from scratch. So it's not just like what's being said. Oh, we need mermaids. She looks at it and she's like, this needs
This
to have
is a werewolf.
Yeah, this needs to have 6 arms, not 2.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Or the werewolf.
Yeah,
girl.
currently,
One of my
well,
favorites,
I have
the
another
werewolf
werewolf that I'm working on right now. So I
She's
just
not
looked at
here.
her.
I like the deer
No.
girl. She's starting to go in the animalistic realm.
Yeah.
But and it's also material. So when she goes out and we're at estate sales or we're out finding some things, she'll be looking at it going like, oh, these could be horns on top of this thing.
Yeah,
We
like,
can take it back and.
I find that no matter where we go, there's like a craft store, estate sale, yard sale. Like
Yeah.
my mind is always looking at things and thinking like, what else could this be?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a lot more fun that way.
Awesome. The actually, I think maybe that's a good time to take a pizza break.
About an hour?
Yeah, but yeah,
Pizza.
yeah.
Pizza.
Having a pizza break would probably be pretty good right about now.
I'm hearing a 3 against
I'm good either way.
Cool.
4 against 1.
Fair enough. Cool. Let's go ahead and take a quick break and then we'll reset and then we'll have some pizza and then we'll come right back.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Mark had a baby.
My favorite.
Somebody had to say it.
You know what? And I love it. Zach can't even look at me in the countdown because Zach and I have a severe problem with looking at each other and bursting into laughter. See, Brandon and I think the same logically. Zach and I think with the same twisted sense of humor.
Wow. So you're logic and twisted.
Very much so.
Oh,
As
boy.
you can see, my baby. This is actually like super soft. Like I'm actually surprised. And how
She's a cuddly demon.
Indeed. I'm cuddly.
He's never going to get it back.
I'm taking this home. This is mine now. No, I'm kidding. No, this would definitely be that. So welcome back. back. We had some pizza and we had some fun times. So when we're on the break, we were obviously I was talking about this, but this is super awesome, and I wanted to talk about this. You talking about the Barbie line?
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot to bring this out. I do a line of like face hugger Barbies, so it's got like the nice little face hugger, a great accessory for any outfit really.
So they're specifically with face huggers, like they're the face hugger Barbies.
Yep.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
There was one that was a scientist Barbie, and all the things that Barbie can be, she can also be a face hugger.
yes.
With a face
It
hugger.
could happen to anybody,
Yeah,
really.
She had a scientist, Dr. One.
Mhm, yeah. People really seem to like the Doctor one.
Yeah.
a
I mean,
lot,
what makes
so.
the most sense?
Yeah, it does. But I mean, they could come to your wedding too. There could be a secret room back in the church where there's
wedding
just a whole
face
bunch
of
of
a Barbie.
pods. Yeah.
Mark, you're required to have a few of these at your wedding now. Sorry, sir.
Yep.
And that whole backstory sounds like it needs to be a direct-to-video animated film.
No, dude, this needs to be screened at theaters across America.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm thinking more publicity.
Could be centerpieces.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that'd be an interesting wedding.
Yeah.
And it's only the second weirdest thing I've heard from a bridal party. The first weirdest thing was the James's interview, which you can watch.
Right.
Like the tidal wave of.
Have you ever seen The Human Centipede Part 3?
No.
Do you know what the Human Centipede is?
Of course.
Okay, so
Scene 1 and 2.
James from the HSPPA has
James there.
one of the apparatuses.
I did see
apparatusi,
that. I did see that interview.
From Human Centipede 3.
Yeah, they call it.
And-
You take the Human Centipede experience. I saw that interview.
Wow.
So when we were in New Jersey, it was me, him, and David. And we all saw James wasn't there, but one of his fellow coworkers was there.
Curators.
Yeah, curators was there doing the HSPBA for New Jersey. And right in the centerpiece was the Human Centipede thing. And you could get in the back and put your face in it.
Yeah.
Me and David didn't have to say a thing. Brandon just ran up and was like, I want to do it!
I didn't even say it. I just did it.
And it's just like, all right, me and David were just like, oh, thank God he wanted to do it because we weren't going to.
There are pictures of me online somewhere.
No, it's on the Facebook
not a
page and the
plus,
Instagram.
man. Not a good thing.
That's not something you should admit ever.
He's owning it. He's owning it.
I was gonna say he owns it with
good for-
pride.
Just
I'm
like we
hey,
own
you know
the
what?
dolls.
Remember, I am the guy who's
My baby.
shown multiple people society.
That's a good point.
That is
Society.
Society.
That's going to be.
Poor Aim.
I committed on the break to making a society
doll.
doll
Oh, that'd be
thing.
so awesome.
Yes.
So that is a commitment on my camera. So I fully committed to doing that. So I'll need to watch the movie again.
We cannot wait to
Oh,
see
I
it.
cannot wait to do this. I'm so happy.
Now we need a heat gun and a lot of butts. A lot of really big doll butts.
With the fingers going
With-
through the butt.
through the butt, 'cause
The,
it's-
and the glossiest gloss finish I
Right.
can find.
Yep.
And enough, KY jelly to
When you have that doll made,
I will send pictures.
Yeah.
and give me a price tag as well.
please, because by the way,
He is the society
oh,
guy.
absolutely.
And I mean that with love, by the way.
the,
Not-
as much, well, not too much love.
Right.
Not as much love as there was in that scene.
It's society.
Yeah, wow.
I don't know that you could call that love.
I don't know what that was.
It was
Yeah.
something.
It was something.
That was,
It was
was
something.
something.
Yeah. A sight to behold.
It was a sight to behold.
You know what I remember about that? Not to jump it, but what the interview with the
James?
Centipede Experience
Yeah.
with James
Yeah.
was that I remember him saying that nobody went to the front.
Everyone
Everybody
goes
went
to the back.
What is wrong with people?
Everyone.
What?
Everyone. It blew my mind. And the crazy part, I don't know if you had a chance to watch part of this interview, but he's like, I've had families,
Yeah.
I've had bridal showers, and I'm like, how do you explain those fucking photos?
When we were in New
Kinda
Jersey,
like how I just did.
when we were in Jersey, apparently there were celebrities who wanted to go into it, but their agents were just like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
It's a
no.
publicist
Talk
worst
about
fucking
bad
night.
Yeah.
publicity.
But
Oh
you're,
my
but you're at a horror convention though. That would just be like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they'd rather get poses with, now I'm blanking on her name already, the Vampira or something like that. They don't want to get a picture.
Elvira, Vampire.
Elvira.
I think
sucking,
Vampire is dead,
the
maybe.
back of a.
For a long time.
Yeah, I guess she is.
Uh,
Elvira, that's what I was trying to
Elvira,
say.
yes.
Elvira.
Elvira's still kicking from at
Elvira
least
is
from my
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah, I
Looking
saw her a
good.
couple
She's
cons go.
looking
Yeah,
good.
she's
She's at
looking
the
good.
cons.
Oh,
She
great.
goes to a couple cons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my mom loves Elvira.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
to
mom
death.
loves Elvira.
Yeah.
One of her movies on Hulu now.
Really?
Is it really? No kidding. Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
The cannot believe he got fucking mothers, daughters, and
You know, it doesn't surprise me. When you see
To do the
something
centipede?
so
Yeah.
when you see something so ridiculous, you're like, I gotta do it.
You know what? That is a good point.
Yeah.
When it's something like once in a lifetime kind of shot, I don't know if I'd say once in a
Once
lifetime,
in a lifetime.
kind of shot, but
If it wasn't the actual apparatus that was used in the movie, I wouldn't have cared as much. But since it was screen used, it appeared in the actual movie.
so just to be clear,
Uh-huh.
you wanted the used apparatus to
Yes.
put in your mouth.
I didn't
Got
put
it.
in my mouth.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. You
It
wanted
wasn't-
it used.
I just want to
not a new
clarify.
clean one.
It was-
You want-
Not a new clean one.
It was not in my mouth.
Okay.
It was around my
All right,
mouth.
that helps.
And that could be
That
how I
helps.
ended up with coronavirus today.
Coronavirus. That's
Ladies
all
and gentlemen,
I'm
this
saying.
is how Corona spreads. So Yeah.
Never mind.
Don't believe it.
So, so all right. I actually came up with my question on the podcast because we're all joking about all these twisted horror movies that we've seen. You know, what's a memory in your past where you and Zach? This is going to be really hard for Zach, but what's a memory of you seeing a horror movie and you going, ooh, of really having a hard time watching whatever the visual was. Society aside,
Yeah.
you know, but like when you watch it, you're like, ooh, that's ooh.
How graphic can we get on this podcast?
Please,
As graphic as
please.
you want.
We talked about the human centipede. I mean,
good point.
the,
good
um,
point.
Talking
talked
about
about society.
talking about
Yeah.
society. We've
Yeah.
we've talked about Evil Dead in the tree scene a couple times too.
Oh,
so
sure. Okay.
So
We
that's
talked about a comic called Come In Me.
Not what it was
Comic?
called.
What was it called?
It was called Come Into Me, and it's not porn.
We literally walked into the apartment and there's a comic right there and it literally says "Come," and I go and his first answer was, "Oh, it's not porn."
How could it not be porn?
I rest my case.
Here's the
Brandon.
thing. Here's
I
the
rest
thing.
my case.
There's a naked dude with a fleshy tube going into his stomach or his head or his butt. I don't remember
Well, how
what.
can that not be? Wait a minute. That, by definition, is porn.
That's porn for someone.
If there's larger
The,
things being inserted into smaller things, that's porn.
The you know, you can find anything as long as you got enough time and a good internet connection.
Good point.
Brandon's a freelancer, so he's got a lot of time. Brandon,
Explain the comic.
Explain the comic real quick.
All right. So basically, it takes place in the near future, and there's a scientist who's created this sort of like what do you call it when it's like part organic and part machine? Biomechanical.
Bioorganic.
Biomechanical
Bioorganic,
machine.
right?
Bioorganic.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
You could
Sure.
probably do
Bio and
both.
organic are the
It's
same thing,
all
so
of
be
that.
biomechanical.
Okay.
Some sort
Sure.
of biomechanical machine
Sure.
that
Alright.
two people can hook up to, and they can pretty much share each other's brains or memories. So it's like if you and I were to hook into that machine, it could either be my consciousness will share your body with your consciousness, or you can come this way and your consciousness can share my body with my consciousness.
Do you get to pick and choose what you share, or it just happens?
So it's
stuff
sort
just
of going
happens?
through the trial period, so they're still working out all the kinks. So there are a lot of test subjects that end bloody and in deaths. So there are ways that
It's a
doesn't
horror
it
comic.
doesn't
So
it doesn't quite
visceral
work.
porn.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it doesn't quite
naturally.
work the way that should.
It is a horror comic,
It
and
is
it
a
is horror. It really
the,
is
the
important.
interior,
or
the
science
interior
fiction kind of horror.
artwork is not as sexual as the covers would make you think it is.
It
See,
really-
but you know what? That was marketing genius.
Yeah.
Oh,
to
I
know
was-
what that
yeah, I was
meant.
just about
Because
to say
it's not by Marvel or DC or
Right.
Image or Dark Horse or one of the big guys. It's
Right,
made by
right.
a publisher called Black Mask, which I'd never even heard of. So I mean, it worked.
It
Yeah.
gets people's attention. Like,
Right.
come in,
That's
come
what
into
it
me.
is.
Yep.
Into me.
Come into me
That's
with
what
this
it is.
fleshy-like cover,
Right.
and it's like, I gotta see this. It's
So-
like, now I'm curious. You have my attention.
As the story progresses, and I'm just going to kind of cover the first issue. There's this woman. Pretty much the company's on the verge of bankruptcy. They're running out of test subjects because they keep dying, and their investors don't want to keep putting money into something that's
Wonder
killing
why
people.
that would be. Yeah.
Well.
And so there's this woman that is basically really wants to be one of the trial subjects, and she even offers to put in money. The owner of the company accepts on the condition that she goes through the machine with him. And so it's her consciousness then sharing his body with him. But what
Okay.
she didn't tell him was she was dying of cancer. So while her consciousness is inside his brain, her body dies. So then this guy has to share his brain with this woman, and they can see each other's memories and all that good stuff.
So he's
Okay, that
living
went to
with
a
somebody
cool
else in
place.
his head forever.
Yes.
That
Until
kind of
he
went to
dies.
a cool place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
that's pretty much, it's a 4-issue miniseries. That's basically the first issue, and it's a comic that I highly recommend.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
He's been recommending.
I
I do
I
wonder.
do
why
have,
you
I do have a
see it.
story about it too. When I found out about it by looking up best horror comics of 2018,
Okay.
and it was consistently in like the top 3.
Really?
And I just went to every comic book store in the city, and Chicago Comics near the Belmont stop.
Right.
Back then they had an actual horror section. They don't anymore. Back then they did. They were the only shop that had the comic. They had all 4 issues. I forget which issue, but there was there was one issue that they only had 1 copy left. So I just bought all 4 of them, went up to the counter, and the girl at the register there, she looks like she would fit in with David and Lily. I mean that with love, of course, but
More wholesome
she looks
looking.
at these covers, and hi Lily. She looks at these covers, she just kind of gives me this look, and I was literally looking all over the city for these. And just like, okay.
she's like, I bet you were. It's funny, like shit like that, like it attracts people. Like I remember, I'm a massive metal fan, so I've watched almost every documentary known to man.
Nice.
Sebastian Bach was talking about the first time he ever discovered Metallica. He's like, I discovered Metallica sorting through my import section in my vinyl record store. I think it was like Virgin Records, something like that. And he picked it up, and he's like, and there's a picture of all of them in the back, and he's like, these are the ugliest humans I have ever seen in my life.
How metal is that?
He's like, I have to buy this.
Right.
And he's like, James had awards, and he's like, I have to know what this band is all about. This is not Poison. Like, I need to go find out what's going on with
Which
this.
album was that, by the way?
It was Kill 'Em All.
That was Kill 'Em
It was
All?
Kill 'Em All.
All right.
It was absolutely Kill 'Em All. Because there's a picture of all of them on the back of Kill 'Em All. So I love shit like that.
You got to check out Leo Morcio. I'm gonna butcher his name. Morcioli, something like that. Frog Leap Studios. Have you ever seen him?
No.
He's got a huge YouTube channel. He takes songs and makes them metal. So he took like what was the one that Staying Alive. You know Staying Alive. I
Yeah.
hate
He
disco.
made it metal.
Let's start this right here. I hate disco.
We could argue about that later.
Big
I'm
into
not gonna
punk,
argue.
death, but he took Staying Alive and made a metal song that I just love.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
He made it metal, and he did. What was one of the other ones?
My favorite one is the Cranberries' Zombie.
Yeah, he took Zombie and made it a metal song. You would love him if you're into metal.
Oh yeah.
How could you not
Check
like
it out.
this guy?
I mean, and Zach and I share a
I will
passion.
scream Slayer until my lungs burn out.
He was in the way he got his start. He was in a Slayer tribute band.
Really?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
All right, now I gotta find this
That's
guy.
fantastic.
We'll give you more info later.
I
Look
was
for the script down in the description. There'll be a link to that.
that's more work for Brendan.
Sorry, man.
If you send it to us, we will post it.
That is actually his rule. But
All right.
I love that. I love stuff like that. The Saturday Night Fever was one of my favorite movies growing up, but we'll get to that later.
Okay. Talk about a horror movie.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
but it's definitely a big thing. So
Yeah.
we're talking about Barbies.
Oh, we were talking about your
Oh, yeah.
movie, grossest movie point.
Oh
'Cause I
yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
hear
yeah. That's
your
what the hell we
reviews.
were talking about. My question on the
Wait, or
podcast.
the one that sticks with you, or what was the question?
And
again?
it can even
That
be
where you cringed at
it
it.
can even be a scene
like,
of a movie.
Yeah.
Even you, who's a massive fan of horror, and this could be at any point in your life, where you saw something, you're like, God
Oh,
damn.
yeah.
You probably know what it is.
Oh, God, yeah.
What is it? I forget.
Well,
It's like a few.
not yours. I was going to
Oh,
say
I thought you were
mine.
gonna say mine.
No.
Because you witnessed the reactions. I'm just.
Yeah,
It
you
could-
had a good reaction to what's that movie? Society, something like.
The-
You had a good reaction. to
Society
that.
doesn't.
Not Society.
Can't pick Society, everybody.
I'll tell you what, we could both name good cringe scenes from the trilogy that we were trying to get Devin Warwick to watch.
Oh, Feast. Have you guys seen the Feast?
I have
trilogy?
not.
I've seen the
Feast
first
1, 2, and 3. Oh, you saw the first one?
First one.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
first one had some weird, repulsive things, like guys getting thrown up on him, maggots and stuff like that. Just to encapsulate it, these weird creatures, beasts, or whatever, are converging on this small town. They're actually, it's larger than that, but they're
They're like out in the
converging-
desert.
Small town in the desert in Nevada or something like that somewhere. And they wreak havoc on the people in this bar.
Including Jason Mewes and
Jason
Henry
Mewes is in it.
Rollins.
Henry Rollins plays a door-to-door Bible salesman or something in it.
Like that.
But
Sure.
oh yeah, it's
Something.
great. It's got a great cast. But the second one, the sequel, Feast 2, was above and beyond. They pushed the limits on Feast 2, and Feast 3 was just like literally it just ran right into the next one. They made Feast 2 so they could get to Feast 3,
Okay.
which is when they really just
Went balls to the wall.
Which we found these movies through my mother.
Yeah, that's right.
Her massive collection.
So all right, so there's a couple scenes from Feast that would be on my range of
Yeah.
kind of things. For instance, there was one scene where one of the people in the bar gets sucked out a hole in the bar, and they're out in the field or whatever, and they thought she was dead, so they loaded her up with dynamite to blow up
Yes.
the monsters, right? The monsters proceeded to, one of the monsters proceeded to jump on her, throat fuck her, and then spew all over her, and that's when she blew up with the monster. So she had a bad day.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was weird, but worse than that, in part 2, they actually caught one of these monsters because they moved on to a small town. They caught one of these monsters, and they had him on slab. They were going to dissect him, so they opened him up and stuff like that. And they hit the wrong organ or whatever, and then the monster proceeded to relieve himself all over everybody in the room. And just, people with their mouths open going, oh! Just so you know, if ever that kind of stuff happens, close your mouth.
Yeah. Always keep your
Always
mouth
keep your
closed.
mouth
Don't
before a
scream,
movie.
just
Don't
go.
scream.
Remember, kids, keep your mouth closed.
Keep your mouth closed.
The yo.
Yeah, it was quite visceral. It was quite
Yeah, it was
disgusting.
pretty bad.
The
And I loved it.
No, awesome. I love it, Brandon.
Are we just going for gross or for cringe?
Sure.
Because I have one where I cringed. I'm trying to think of one where I was grossed out.
or one that you really couldn't like. It was like ooh, painful to watch.
Painful to watch. Okay. So this is actually a very brief scene from a 2010 horror movie called Frozen. Not the Disney movie.
Is it the one about Nazis?
No.
Oh yeah.
You're thinking
Oh,
of
That's
You're
no.
thinking-
Dead Snow
Dead
That's
Snow was
Dead Snow.
awesome.
It
It was awesome. It was pretty great.
I need to see the second
Okay,
one.
the outhouse
Yeah.
scene in
First
that
and
one was
first.
pretty.
Where she got
Yeah, that.
pulled down in the outhouse?
Yeah, that was pretty gross.
Child's play.
Whatever.
Child's play.
Popped into my
All
head. I
right,
thought it was
not
shares
Dead
and we're all
Snow.
sharing.
So Frozen's pretty much about these three friends who get stuck on a ski lift over a week.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Really good
Mhm.
movie. In
Very
fact, it's kind of funny because back when it first came out, there were some reviewers that were saying this could never happen. In fact, there was one critic who was so adamant, this could never happen. This movie is stupid. I don't know why anybody would like it. And within like 2 months of the movie, of that review going out, it actually happened.
I remember
and
that.
the critic took the review down.
I remember that.
But there's a scene where one of the characters, and they're pretty high up on that ski lift,
Right.
and one of the characters decides he's going to try to make a jump for it. And so he jumps off the ski lift and tries to do the tuck and roll, but he lands just wrong and breaks both of his legs. And it's like, you know what's coming, and that's what makes it more painful to watch.
You know what? That's a good point because a lot of the movies, like when the shock value is one thing, but when you see it coming, the anticipation is almost worse than actually seeing it happen.
Yes.
Or like back to Jaws when you think like, okay, this could really happen.
Yeah.
What
That's a whole different level.
Bravo
of
had
scariness.
Bravo had a top 100 scariest scenes of all time.
They need to update
Yeah.
that.
They
thing.
do need to update it because there's a lot of older movies that don't need to be in there. But number one, opening scene of Jaws. The
the girl going for a swim.
because if that should happen, there's
Yeah.
nothing that anybody could do.
Yep.
Zero.
Yep.
Nothing that anybody could do or help her or in any way. She is
Yep.
toast.
And it's scary too because it's the killer you can't see.
Oh, of
Because
course.
it's below a line, so you just see something happen. You know what's going on,
Yeah.
but it's terrifying because you don't get to see the shark.
Well, we couldn't see the shark because the shark never fucking worked.
They did a bad luck with the shark.
It's nickname besides a good trivia question. The shark's actual name, do you know it?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Bruce.
Oh, I did know that.
Named
Yeah,
after
it's
Steven
like
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg's lawyer.
Right.
But his other name, the Great White Turd,
Oh, and see that. I
because
didn't know.
because it never worked,
Yeah.
and there were so many more
Nope.
scenes.
But
And then,
that's not how it happened. So
Oh.
how the Great White Turd came out was when he was in editing with the movie. I think it was Verna Fields who edited it.
Yes, it was.
Whenever it would get into a contention of where she wanted to cut and where he wanted to cut, he would always try to get like one frame more in there. But I would say it's that one frame that makes the difference between the shark being really scary or looking like a big white turd.
Hence the big white turd.
There's a great, if you get a chance, there's a thing on YouTube called The Inside Story on Jaws, and it's the story behind Jaws is sometimes better than the damn movie. The nightmares that they had shooting it, because Steven Spielberg, he said, "I want to film on the Atlantic Ocean. How hard could it be?" Well, he found out, and he took a 30 days schedule to 180 days or something ridiculous.
I don't think it was that ridiculous.
I know, but it was something. It was something ridiculous.
I think it tripled its like shooting schedule,
and then doubled its budget. So I mean, he. If that movie wasn't good, we would not know who Steven Spielberg was.
Life lessons.
The very, very important life lessons.
You may know who he was, but just not in the way we do now.
Right.
Yes, he would be that guy who made that shitty shark movie in the 70s.
Called The Big White Turd.
The Big White Turd, yeah. And it would have been liked among people like us, who like the offbeat movies, opposed to being the national treasure that it is.
Right.
Exactly.
On that, yeah.
But Zach, do you have anything?
Don't lie.
You got something, bro.
You have no idea how annoyingly hard this one
It
is.
is hard. It is hard because you pull out some and then you're like, I thought of this one.
Mine. There's two of mine, and one Brandon's gonna realize this because I've repeated it 1,000 times, but it made a huge impact on me. Is the 80s blob with the kid.
You don't like the kid getting eaten.
Oh man, that really at that time it was really hard for me to watch. It bothered me. I think that was the first time that, and actually Brandon said it in another podcast, and I love his quote. He says, not only was that one of the first movies that we realized that kids could die in movies, that kids can die badly in movies, and that kid died badly in that movie.
That's a good point. A lot of movies don't stay away from that.
And actually. As soon as Zach comes up with his answer, I want you to tell the Blob story about her scream, because that's a great story behind the Blob that I'd love to tell. And then also in a very tying second, it's so stupidly simple, but in The Evil Dead, when the girl gets stabbed and you kill his heel.
Oh yeah, Achilles.
Yeah.
Injuries are always like, oh.
Yeah, because there was the same one in Pet Cemetery. Where he got snipped the Achilles heel in the back, and that's like
anything with Achilles heels or veins. I have a very hard time. If that,
I thought of another one.
Please
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say I'm good with veins, but
Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
I was thinking of that.
The tendons ripping out. So Puppet, I knew exactly where you were going with that.
That's a rough one.
That is a rough one to watch. That is pretty cool.
There's actually, I think that's the only scene I skipped in Freddy vs. Jason was the whole thing where the kid is committing suicide in the bathroom. And like I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch. I can't do that. I can't do the blades in them. But the rest of that movie is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Gotta love that movie. Oh, the acting is so bad. I had so much fun watching that movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
But that's why they're fun.
I know that one in particular.
Sometimes the bad acting is cringe-worthy on its own, but it's still entertaining.
It really needed to have more fights between Freddy versus Jason.
And Freddy needed more kills.
Yeah, he absolutely did.
That's my biggest problem with the movie. Is Freddy got one kill throughout the entire movie, and it was basic.
So from what I understand, that one was one of the movies that they made purely because the fans wanted to see it.
Pretty much, yeah.
But the two sanctions, they were who's going to win.
This was like a 20-year battle between New Line and Paramount.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
It took so long because they wanted even blows or even fighting and stuff like that, and you can't really kill either of them. So
exactly.
Very
so
true.
It's like,
I mean, when they finally got to that last fight, and then the music started, I'm like, all right, here we go.
Right.
And I only got a few minutes of it, but I was very happy with
Dude,
the
that
few
was like
minutes I got.
a 15-minute fight scene. That thing is great, and
It
it's
is.
bloody as all
It
hell.
is great.
It is.
Dude, when she's making, the one chick is making fun of his size, everything else, she's like, you're so small. Jason's got that big honking thing, and then Freddy's like, Jason's right behind her.
Actually, I found out that girl was in Destiny's Child.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
she
did
was.
not know that.
Yeah.
She was. That was it, because I follow Isabella. See, I'm not good with names
Oh
tonight.
my gosh, I'm totally blanking on her
But
too.
Isabella, the person she starred with in that movie.
Catherine Isabel?
Catherine Isabel, there you go.
Thank you. She was
IMDb
the one.
champ.
See, good.
Well, she's
because
also one of my favorite actresses. So.
as she is mine. So, because I saw her at first when she was in the werewolf movie, the
Ginger
Ginger
Snaps.
Snaps.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3. Watched all of those. I saw Ginger Snaps probably about 100 times because it was so friggin' awesome. So I always watch her, and then she was with the Destiny's Child chick, and you knew that one. You're like, oh, that's from Destiny's Child.
Oh, is that what it sound like?
Yeah.
The
Paraphrasing a little bit, maybe, but.
you're like the same people who watched Dracula 2000 and saw Vitamin C.
You know,
And there's literally a shot of her next to a whole row of CDs of Vitamin C in that
Really?
movie. Yes, that happened.
really?
That is
I'm gonna
have to watch that one.
a real thing that had happened.
Everyone tends to forget that Gerard Butler was Dracula in that movie.
The
You know
That's
what?
the thing that I'm just like, that's Gerard fucking Butler.
Well, even Gerard Butler wants to forget that Gerard Butler was
I was
Dracula
gonna say,
in that
there's a
movie.
lot of early movies or movies that they were in that they didn't want to be known, or they had so much makeup you couldn't tell it was them either.
fun trivia question.
Yes.
Do you know one of Gerard Butler's first actual major theatrical releases, movies? It's a very, very small part, and you would have to be a movie crazy person to notice.
Movie savant. No, what was it?
It
Was it horror?
No, it was not.
Okay.
It was Tomorrow Never Dies.
What?
The James Bond movie.
Really?
In the very first movie, that whole thing, they sink the British ship at the very beginning.
Okay.
He's one of the operators on that
Really?
ship, like a blackjack
Yeah.
cameo in Demolition Man.
I was gonna say, that's more what it is, like a
shit
flash and
but
fleeting
like
moment.
but like it's one of those things that it's not like, oh, he's in the background like Hitchcock.
Right.
He has a speaking line, and he's legitimately right there, and he's in at least 2 or 3 shots. You can see him.
So he got paid big bucks for that.
Yeah, of
damn
course. I mean,
speaking role.
naturally,
Yeah,
you know. No,
yeah.
you
He
know,
was
like-
in Tomorrow Never Dies.
he was, yeah. Wow.
Interesting.
It's you catch those little things
Yeah,
here and there.
yeah.
And Renee
The hard part
Zellweger
is
was
retaining them.
extra in Days and
That's the
Confused.
hard part.
somehow I do.
That is-
Yeah.
Did you figure out one?
I don't know. Like, the problem with me is I love disgusting, creepy, and especially gory shit. Like, my buddy told me this a while back. He's like, you're fucked. You know that, right? You have reached a level where you cannot experience or see anything gory anymore to satisfy your bloodlust. Everything that comes out forever and always, when you'll just be like, meh. Like, when it gets to
That's
a point
an
where,
interesting
when you're
conundrum.
watching Mortal Kombat fatalities and you're like, that's basic. Where do you go from there?
I feel like that's Zach's defense for when he feels cringe.
Yeah, that's basic.
He has to be the softest person on the inside because nobody just goes meh onto everything.
You know what though? It's
That's
so
a
funny.
good point, though.
He's Prince of Darkness
There
until
has
he's
to
a
be
cat.
something.
He's Prince of Darkness and then there's Giddy. Very similar to my girlfriend, who's a lovely, articulate, intelligent person, and then as soon as a doggy's there, it's a doggy. You know,
Giving you the death stare off camera.
That is something
you know
that-
it's true,
We're getting
baby.
the sneer.
Yeah.
You know it's true. You love the doggies.
I do find that very hard and disgusting in horror
Oh, the
movies.
pet
If
stuff.
if there's
Animal
ever
stuff.
an animal that gets hurt,
Oh yeah,
I'm just like,
very hard for a lot of people.
even though I know it's not.
I guess
So-
if anything, don't murder a cat or I'll want to kill you.
Okay, so there you go. So it's not
There's
so
one.
much the gore stuff. You got to have
It's just-
cringe moments
yeah.
of when they do something like
something that elicits some sort of
Yeah.
internal like compass.
something that you're like, I don't want to watch.
I literally
It's-
cannot think of a movie that they kill a cat except Harry Potter. That's like
Well, Reanimator,
Ah,
kill the cat
yeah.
like 3 or 4 times.
Alright.
You don't see the cat die, sort of.
Well, you see
it
it
die a second time.
the second time because it's in the fridge
Yeah.
the first time, but the second time it's a lot. They throw it against the friggin' wall. I mean, it's dead
Cat's
now.
dead. Details later.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Which
So I have a question.
And I'll
Since you
tell
said
that
we could
story
ask
off camera.
questions.
Ooh,
Please. Ooh.
How do you guys feel about horror comedies or horror-comedies?
I hate that second term, but I love
You
them.
hate horror-comedies?
Um,
Or
I-
comedies. Never heard that one before.
Horror-comedies.
But that's an
Um,
interesting one.
It depends on like I have a love for almost all of them. Put me in front of Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, and I'm gonna have a great time. And also too, again, I told you earlier, I love satire. The satire. So I see the comedy and irony in Scream. I damn sure see it in Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, well.
So I definitely love horror comedy. I love Ghostbusters. That's more comedy than it is
I was gonna
anything
say
thriller.
mostly comedy.
Hell,
sci-fi.
the video game is scarier than the actual fucking movie. There's actually
For all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
You don't like it. I like it. There's actually a scene where they're going through the library and there literally is like children's voices in the background as you're going through this, and the books start moving. like in the movie. I was like, this is not like the movie at all.
Because they made it so far after the movie, they had to zhuzh it up a little bit.
Spice it up a little bit. No, I love them. I've always had them. I mean, is there any specific examples that you're?
Dead and Breakfast is my favorite one.
Dead and Breakfast is awesome.
Love it.
Love
it's
Dead and
genius. It has its own original soundtrack.
The music,
Come to kill you.
dance sequence.
Come to kill you. Come.
Yeah,
How
we
many
have
times
the-
do you get to see
yeah.
zombies line dancing? Come on.
That's a good point.
I
Have you
think
seen it?
we
You've
have
seen
all
it?
the
I've not,
songs.
I've not.
All the
Oh,
songs
on my list.
memorized. You
Yeah, I
can't-
bought the soundtrack.
We
I
could-
bought the soundtrack.
We
have a
could
question
sing it
for you.
all.
What are your thoughts on Chud 2?
Do you remember Chud too?
Have I seen? I don't think I've
All right.
seen that.
What-
So
why?
Bud the Chud. He's done because the first one.
It's the
Chud-
greatest theme song in all of horror
It
movies.
is. It is.
Could you sing a few bars for us?
No.
Yes.
Maybe that'll help me like remember.
No.
Speaking of horror and comedy,
Here you go.
No, so he bought the movie on a whim one day. I don't
Yeah.
remember
I
why
bought
or
both
when.
of them on a whim.
And for the longest time, he's been trying to get rid of it. I think, 5, 6,
He's tried so
20,000
hard
years.
to get rid of the show too. So hard to get rid of the show too.
And every time he tries, it's just like,
He's,
Nope.
he's having a really tough time.
and it's
We
like I hadn't
had-
seen these movies, so I'm just watching them one day, and I'm like, all right, the first one's kind of whatever, and the second one, I'm like,
Is
the fuck is this?
the
What is this song?
We had a holiday party at the end of last year,
yeah.
and we had what we called the Bloody Elephant giveaway. And we pretty much invited all of our crew
Good twist on
members.
the white elephant. I like it.
And
It
what
was
we
fun.
did was we all pitched in and bought a whole bunch of horror-related knickknacks and such, a few cheap DVDs that were used and all that, and just put them all into boxes or bags, and we purchased it like White Elephant. I tried to put my copy of Chud 2 in one of the boxes, but somebody wouldn't let me.
So they ended up with Teacher's
Teacher's
Pet,
Day.
Oh.
Teacher's Day.
Whatever that movie was called.
I don't know, it has like
Day?
5 different titles. on
Teacher's
IMDb.
Day. It was.
one of those
Oh my God!
movies.
What a disaster that was. So
That's a horror comedy.
Except for all the wrong reasons.
It's a horrible comedy.
Sure.
Literally, I was at one of the horror cons and I
Yeah.
bought it for $5. I was like, I gotta get this for the Black Elephant, and we watched it. It turns out, well, first of all, it's imagine like the horror movie that you only watch it because you get to see boobs,
Right.
Except
Which is
remove the boobs. Remove seeing the
Oh,
boobs, and
well,
then it's that
then
movie.
what?
Then it's
Yeah.
that movie, and then also too, we found out at the very end of the movie
Yeah.
that this is in fact a movie made to support some guy's rap career, and he raps about bananas. I am not fucking joking.
Could you sing a few bars of that?
What?
No, I
We
will
don't
not.
remember.
I don't even know the lyrics.
What?
I
We were laughing
really.
too hard to hear the lyrics.
Like we couldn't believe that it was happening. We could not believe it was happening. It was one of the craziest things.
And since we've never heard of him, I'm assuming his rap career actually never went anywhere.
no,
Probably.
no, probably. You know, whatever.
Such a foolproof way to get his career out there too. I
Indeed,
would have thought.
indeed. Put it, squeeze it into the narrative of a shitty horror movie.
Especially with a topic like bananas.
Oh, of course. I mean, you're a solid gold
Doesn't get
record
much
right there.
kinkster than that.
Oh, I mean, they're yellow. They're slippery.
It's kind of gold.
Yeah,
It's kind of gold.
Yeah.
Like
I wonder when
you
that
know,
movie was
mushy.
filmed.
I have
Or
no
made.
idea. And,
Yeah.
I think it was like
It's somewhere 7, 8, maybe 10 plus years ago.
Sure,
I'm on it.
Really?
sure. Like, please do that.
The Walking
Army
IMDb
of
pages
Darkness.
on it.
Army of Darkness is It was one of my absolute favorites of
Yeah.
the comedy horror.
Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Well, all of them.
Yeah,
though.
all of
Oh
of them.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but
Just Evil Dead in general.
Yeah, Evil
Dead
is
is-
pretty
is-
good.
is
as horror
fantastic.
comedy.
Right.
But I mean,
2014.
Wow, that's more recent than I thought.
the way more recent. There's some lines in that I fucking love. It's probably one of the most quotable of horror movies that I know of.
Ooh, well, that's a good question. What's your favorite quote from a horror movie?
This is a good
That's
question.
tough because first of all, it's hard enough coming up with like actors' names or directors' names or.
This is my boomstick, probably.
Right. Well,
The-
that's
well, yeah,
that's
the-
pretty.
Or
classic
ma'am, I think I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the store.
That's but it's all from the same
Oh
movie,
yeah,
which is good.
absolutely. One that we quote all the time. I'm drawing a line in the sand. Do not read the fucking Latin.
What's that from?
Cabin in the Woods.
Oh,
we
I love
quote
Cabin
it
in the
all
Woods.
the time.
Oh, my
all the
God.
time. Zach, you can come up with shit from Predator and from Terminator all day.
Yeah.
Any Arnold Schwarzenegger line, I just love it.
Oh, there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those.
Just a
to choose
few.
from.
Just a few.
Yeah.
One time my buddy and I got tossed out of an ice bar in Vegas because we quoted Batman and Robin too much. I'm not joking. Literally, what my buddy Vinny walked up to the bartender. He's like, "Hey, Goopadi." Then the bartender finally said, "Just get the fuck out of here."
Clearly they were not Batman fans.
I can see Vinny doing that too. That's hilarious.
Oh, that is a terrible movie.
It was a great movie, Mark.
It is my favorite of It's So Bad It's Good movies. Right next to Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers is a great movie. What are you talking about?
Starship Troopers is entertaining.
Yes.
You don't watch it for any cinematic value, a special effect value.
Oh well, there's that. Yeah,
'Cause it is pretty phenomenal special effect movie.
Have you ever seen the second one?
Yes, we did. I saw it with you.
So
You might have fallen
memorable.
asleep on that one then. But yeah, the second one they tried to extend it, right? They tried to do the same things.
It was
but
the
same
visual
movie.
effects were so terrible. Like,
Oh,
I don't know how
Straight to
long
the
it's been
maybe
since
I
you've
don't
seen
remember
this,
this.
but
Well, a long
literally, muzzle flares for guns, they
Right.
just had flashlights on the tips of the guns, and you could see the flashlights.
Oh,
Wow.
then clearly I did
It's
not
like
see this
flash,
movie.
flash, flash,
Yeah.
flash, flash.
Yeah.
Like it looks like it was shot by a student.
Okay.
That's how bad this movie
All right,
is.
I missed that
Most
one
of the
then.
shots are
Amazing.
grainy. You have a somewhat decent cast, but it's like
What?
Taco Bell
Wow.
looks like it's shot by a student.
Because they lost their budget.
Velocipaster.
Velocipaster.
Have you guys seen
Oh,
Velocipaster?
No, but we did
I
one of the
heard about this movie,
He has
but
a dinosaur and a pastor.
Yeah.
I heard of this movie. I've never seen it, nor do I know what it. I mean,
It's getting a sequel.
It is.
You gotta
Because
see
it
it.
was made to be ridiculous. So
Yeah.
it's one of those kind of movies.
It's a good
But,
time.
you know, when the guy shows up in like one of these foam raptor outfits and he's walking around and it's bouncing and shaking and stuff, it's very funny.
I believe that. So I'm curious. I wanted to hear your guys' favorite quotes as well.
Oh.
I was trying to think of one.
Well, the first one that comes to my mind that I always loved was, "Wendy, light of my life, I'm not, what is it? I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in. Bash them right the fuck in." That's one of my favorites.
Don't talk to Shelley. Don't talk to Shelley.
Because she hated, she was,
Oh.
you know what? Because Kubrick really just
He was
fucked
he's
with
a
her
bastard.
to get her to cry like that.
Oh,
And
no.
I'm sorry, but it worked.
It did work.
It fucking worked.
It did work, but he was a monster.
But he badgered her.
That's
Oh, my
that's
God.
part of that Stanley Kubrick joke that we talk about.
Yeah. But that was his thing.
What was a favorite quote from you? I know you got dozens.
I have no idea.
Hey,
This
it's
is a really hard one.
that's a good one.
It's a really good one. I'm gonna use that later. I'm gonna steal it. I'm stealing that one. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna let you off with a reprieve because I want you to tell the Blob story.
All right.
The kid?
Yeah, no. It's actually a different scene from the Blob.
All right.
And there's a very interesting behind-the-scenes story. The Scream.
Yeah, so Shawnee Smith in the 1980s version of The Scream, of course in the plot there's that one football player that she goes out with that night, and they find the homeless guy who's like melting because he has the blob on him. They take him to the hospital,
Right.
and while Shawnee Smith is making a phone call, I believe, or just in the waiting room, meanwhile the boy, he's in another room and the blob gets on him and starts devouring him, and Shawnee Smith goes into that room and sees him, and she just screams, like eyes bulging out of her head, screaming. Well, when they were filming the scene, they told her it was just going to be a dummy that was going to be inside the blob, but instead they actually put the real actor inside, so he was actually reacting and like reaching for her. So she had no idea she was going to be seeing
Really?
that.
So they got a better reaction out
So
of her.
the scream you see in the movie is her legitimate reaction to seeing.
Nice. See, that's directing. That's good.
Indeed. There's a bunch of crazy stories like that.
Well, if you go with Kubrick, there always will be that.
Well, yeah,
Would have been.
Kubrick and Hitchcock and I remember The Graduate at the very end when they're sitting in the back of the bus.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting there and they're with smiles and there's no sound. The director is literally behind the camera telling them, about how terrible their performance has been the entire thing. They're not going to work ever again, and you can see the life draining from them the entire scene.
Again,
Wow.
No. Like I'm so not for that as an
Yeah.
actor.
no, that's not what happened.
I stand corrected then.
Yeah.
That's what I was told.
Well,
We were
what
talking
happened?
about the ending of The Graduate?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for some
I
reason,
was told different.
director Mike Nichols couldn't make it to set that day for whatever reason. So it was the editor, Sam Osteen, that was directing that day. And he didn't know that you were supposed to call cut after the scene was done. So they performed the scene, and so then Catherine Ross and Dustin Hoffman are just waiting for him to call cut. And they just look so uncomfortable.
I've been on those sets before. That's fun.
Yeah.
Waiting for them. I stand corrected.
That sounds more fun. I kind of like your story better.
Yeah,
it's
well,
a
you
little
know.
bit more terrifying.
Hey,
but-
Brennan, what's your famous quote? Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yeah.
The
I mean, that's not my quote, but I'll say it's my quote. I mean, don't let the truth get away with a good story.
I'll let you. I'll give it to you. So now, but now you got to tell your favorite quote though.
Damn it, Mark.
What up now?
I don't know what
That was
movie that's
Tone's
from.
story.
Damn it,
That
Mark.
wasn't-
Yeah, I don't know.
What movie is that?
I didn't see it yet.
Sounds good though.
He's a rough one. I like this.
It's tough to come up with quotes sometimes.
It is. I like "Welcome to Primetime, Bitch." That one really
Yeah.
stands in my mind.
That's when he picked
but-
her up with the TV.
Yeah,
right to the
but
face of the
we've
TV.
already talked about Nightmare 3.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm surprised that you didn't bring this one up. I have come here to
Chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble gum. Yes, sir. And then also one of my favorite ones that I just remembered now: movies don't create psychos; movies make psychos more creative. Scream.
Ah,
The
that's right. That's
yeah.
see, Scream's got some good
But
quotes.
they got a few good ones.
Yeah.
I know Zach's rolling his eyes over there.
You're the
a big fan
Scream.
of
You're the Scream
3.
fan.
Oh my
Scream
god.
3's hilarious.
Oh, Scream 3 is a
For all the wrong
disaster.
reasons, but it's hilarious.
What does the copy say? She fucking pull out the facts, and then like he's reading the facts with a lighter and everything else. He's reading the lines, and there's some girl playing to the cheap seats outside. What does it say? The ones for everyone who could smell the gas, and then he blows up. It's pretty great. Wow, I like this. I might steal this format. I think this is an interesting format. The questions back and forth. So you know what? You guys didn't get an answer about the horror comedies. I was curious about.
I'm like with every other genre. I like the good ones, and I don't like the bad ones.
So-
Well,
the
that's
evil-
Fair
a
enough.
cop-out answer. What the fuck? I like the ones that are good, and I don't like the ones that I don't like.
You're
Come on,
welcome.
there's gotta be some.
That might as well follow Thank You the Academy.
The Evil Dead franchise is probably my favorite horror franchise.
There you go,
I
there
love
you
Shaun
go.
of the Dead.
Alright.
I like Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Tucker
Yes,
and Dale.
that's
Love
awesome.
Tucker and Dale
Love
versus
Tucker and
Evil Dead.
Dale.
Young Frankenstein is a classic, of course. Nobody talks about that because it's an older one, but
It's a
there you
good
go.
point.
Even
Because that one didn't have much horror in it. I think that was just all.
Even
kind of-
Bride of Frankenstein, which
the original, the Bride of Frankenstein.
Yep.
Frankenstein. Really?
yeah, if you rewatch that one has a lot of both horror and comedy in it.
I did not know that. I know that now.
I think we just saw that last Halloween, and I of course, you know, I'm so used to a lot of it. I quote some words.
We'll watch it again.
Nice.
Yeah.
The other reason I put Young Frankenstein in there is if you watch the 1931 Frankenstein followed by Bride of Frankenstein and Son of Frankenstein,
Right.
Young Frankenstein does actually work as a legitimate sequel to
Really?
those movies.
They put the right timeline in there.
Yeah.
They certainly do. Oh my
That's-
god,
that's
I
cool.
love Young Frankenstein.
That's
It's
cool. Me
Still,
too, man.
still one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Frau Blucher.
Fabruka. What knockers? Well, thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, well, thank you, Doctor.
The
Gene Hackman as the blind guy.
Oh my god, is this pours soup in his face? Put the candle back! There's a great quote right there. Oh man. I could get rid of that hump. I'm a pretty good surgeon. What hump?
Wasn't your hump on the
That's
other
it. Never
side?
mind. Never mind.
That movie is still so amazing, even
You
to
barely
this day.
touched your
Agreed.
food.
Agreed.
Their castle, their road, their werewolf.
No, he goes,
I don't know.
he goes, werewolf, there, wolf.
There, Castle. Why are you talking like that? I thought you wanted to. I don't want to. All right, sing yourself.
Right.
I'm easy.
I'm easy.
Jesus. Zach, obviously you like a lot of you find humor in a lot of interesting places.
That's because I just don't give a damn.
Yeah, that's part of it.
What's the name of our favorite Corey Feldman movie?
Oh my God, have you guys seen Splatter? on Netflix.
This
Yeah.
movie is hysterical.
It's horror. It's so
It
bad.
is bad.
Recap it for me.
It is
It's
a
the one
30-minute Corey Feldman movie with Tony Todd in it, and it was directed by Joe Dante.
With
Oh, I
unnecessary
remember.
uses of fisheye lens.
For some reason.
For some reason, I just
It
want to
is-
know why.
It is one of the most unnecessarily funny as hell movies. Well, two facts. This was most likely filmed in Corey Feldman's house.
Yeah.
And Corey Feldman and Corey Feldman was paid in cocaine, not in a check.
Right. Right.
The and Tony Todd was conned into this. Somebody blackmailed him into this, and they also blackmailed Joe Dante into this as well.
Really?
It is one of the if you would remember this if you saw.
Yeah, I
it.
don't recall.
The
I bequeath
Yeah,
you death. What?
what?
Yeah.
What? And then like there's one
We
girl.
got it.
There's
We don't own it. It's on streaming.
there's one girl that tries to have sex with him the whole time when
She
he's
knows
a
he's
zombie.
a zombie.
A zombie
And she
Corey-
sees
and-
zombie Corey Feldman, and she's like, I don't want to do this anymore.
He's just
Well,
like,
you're dead, damn. It's like, what?
And then like I guess at the end of the movie, no one's dead, and then I don't know what the fuck happened. I really don't know what the fuck happened with this
If
movie.
you did watch it, you probably
remember.
fell asleep
Probably.
right after the first 5 minutes of it.
Or it was so
right when he's
terrible
on
that's just
TV
blocked out.
explaining when Corey Feldman's explaining himself or what he wants to do on TV.
Yeah.
That's where you fall
Okay,
asleep.
that sounds kind of familiar. Yeah. I
They
feel
all
like,
hated it. I was laughing the entire time. It was so stupid.
It is stupid, but all right, so there's some movies that are so bad they're good.
Yeah.
And there's other movies like that are so bad they're bad.
Yeah, like TerrorVision.
Like,
Oh, okay, all right. Come on, we gotta
Wait a minute.
Shots fired! Pew, pew, pew.
So, are you for the TerrorVision or are you against the
no,
Terror?
I'm for TerrorVision.
Yes!
Yeah.
Son of a
Because it's
bitch!
campy, it's
I would like to shake your hand. Thank you very much.
Son of a bitch!
Because it's ridiculous and it's silly, but it's the good kind of bad. It's this bad, it's so bad it's good.
I like him.
He has shown us a bunch of movies. And we're like, okay, these are either really stupidly hilarious or they're like, holy fuck, that was grossly awesome.
You know what the
They-
We saw TerrorVision, we felt nothing. It's like,
Oh,
this
I
was
got
just
another one.
bad.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got my
see-
favorite.
Oh, I kind of already know where it's coming from. Go ahead.
I've got good news and bad news, girls.
Yep.
The good news is your dates are here. What's the bad news?
They're dead. You know what?
Night of the
And
Creeps.
he had won so much good. See, the thing was, he showed me Night of the Creeps. Brandon is the biggest man crush on
Tom Atkins.
Tom
I
Atkins.
don't have a biggest.
You have the biggest man. You have an action figure of him that's signed by him.
That sounds like a fan to me. But
He likes Halloween 3.
I get
Well, wait a minute. It's not bad though.
Wait, so you're for Halloween 3?
What?
So you're for Halloween 3?
Yeah, well,
Yes!
because it's Halloween 3.
2 for 2.
So now Halloween, but you guys know the story with Halloween. Halloween was never supposed to be a Michael Myers vehicle or whatever. It was supposed to be every movie was a different story. That's why Halloween 2 and everybody's like, what is this? They brought it back because they figured, okay, the
It's
cash
also
cows were.
fueled by a whole 12-pack, multiple amounts of Budweiser.
and then eventually he fought Buster Rhymes.
Well, yeah, but see, that's the funny part because to me it was like one of those things that he probably had in his contract that he can't die.
Oh yeah.
Buster Rhymes.
Well, yeah.
So it's kind of funny that he just because I think he threw him through a wall or something.
Oh.
didn't
We
he?
still
So-
need to get to that movie.
I
I think that's the next one we're on, right?
That's definitely the
like,
next one.
I think it was 2 years ago we started binging all the Halloween movies with our buddy Wes, but
Yeah.
our schedules just don't align, and we're now up.
And it got hard.
Yeah, well, see the
Oh,
thing
yeah.
is like as hard as Goosebumps is getting right now. We're going through Goosebumps right now.
Oh, really?
We haven't even gotten to bad, but the thing with TerrorVision is he had earned so much good faith with Night of the Creeps. I really enjoyed Night of the Creeps. I was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fantastic movie.
Agreed.
And he had won so much good faith with Night of the Creeps. Like, hey, I got to show you my other favorite movie, TerrorVision.
It's not my other favorite movie.
But-
It's a movie I really like.
But he followed it up with it, and I'm like, you've lost all your good faith at this point.
Okay,
No, I didn't.
he says it's not one of his other favorite movies, but when he got his. So when we were at Atlantic
That did
City,
happen.
when we were at the
He
Atlantic
knows
City
what's
convention,
coming.
he got.
Do we need to trade seats?
He got his Blu-ray signed
side,
by
good
one
side.
of the actresses, the lead teenage actress.
Diane Franklin.
Yeah, Diane Franklin. And
I was
he had
wearing
the-
my TerrorVision T-shirt at the time.
And she's like, "Oh my God, let me sign your shirt!" And this,
There's literally a picture
we
of
thought
this.
he was never gonna leave her. Like I was waiting for him to be like, "Will you marry me?" It's like, oh no, Brandon, no, come on, buddy.
Abort.
We have work to do. Come on.
Abort. Come back. The oh man,
There are other people you need to see, buddy. Come on.
the oh that is too funny.
So what would be another movie that people give you a slack about?
I haven't found it yet. The
I'm sure there's some. We just can't think of
I'm
any.
sure there's something.
Yeah.
Because I'd be
The,
curious, because we watch a lot of
Yeah.
low unknown movies people never heard of before.
You ever seen Preacher?
The TV
That's
show
TV,
Preacher? Yeah, the TV show Preacher's cool. That's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
The,
So I didn't care for it for some reason.
Yeah, it's not like the greatest one. We stopped watching it after like.
It became very
The
hit or
first
miss. The
season.
first season was okay. Second
Right.
season, I hate it.
Yeah, we
Third
didn't get the
season,
second
I like it
season.
halfway through, and the same thing with the fourth season. I like it halfway through. It's just
Yeah.
very. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's horrible.
The fourth season was a little wobbly in the first half, but
Yeah.
they did stick the landing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The so I was gonna ask you guys a question. What's a horror movie that you guys do not like that a lot of people do like?
Wow.
That's a tough one.
Oh,
I love
that's really tough
there's a lot of movies like I can think of regular movies that I just do not like that everyone loves.
Yeah.
But
Keeping it in the horror
Yeah,
genre, because I
you pretty much love everything.
well, not really, but there's some movies that I'll watch that, are just silly or stupid, and not that I hate them, but I get bored with them.
Fair
Like
enough.
there's just some movies that, because a lot of times Amy will pick out a movie and that we've never heard of. Neither one of us have heard of it, seen it before. Sometimes don't even, if there's no trailer, you're just going into it blind, right? And I
Usually the
get
best way to
bored.
go about it.
Usually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but which is good, but at the same time, most of the time they're just boring, and they got nothing to them. And if I'm not a big fan of ghost stories as much.
Fair
I
enough.
like
Oh
if
yeah,
there's a
any
good demon in
any
there.
ghost hunter movie.
So
Those
the
have been
Paranormal
good.
Activity.
That bored the shit out of me.
Okay, so yeah, that's definitely a
Bored the crap out
a
of me.
movie that a lot of people love.
There you go.
Paranormal Activity
Alright,
is a
oh.
weird one. Like, I
Which one?
enjoy the Paranormal Activity series.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I enjoyed the first one. I'm like, okay, this is interesting and cool. Second one, I'm like, this is kind of funny, and the ending was hilarious. And then the third one, I'm like, what the fuck
See?
is happening?
I'm done.
Yeah.
Done.
See?
Same.
I-
But if it's any of them, like with the guys with the ghost equipment, besides Ghostbusters, like the guys with the night vision goggles.
You're
and
thinking more of
ghost
the TV shows
hunters.
too, where they like,
I know,
did you
but-
hear that? Yeah, I did.
But
It's
no,
probably a
they're-
ghost.
Probably
the
bullshit.
movies
Right.
like that too, but yeah, they're like all
It's
the
the gaffer
same.
who tripped over his own tape.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Whoops.
Yeah.
The,
I know
like-
a movie that I hated that everybody loved, Blair Witch Project.
I was gonna
I
say
knew it was
same
coming.
thing.
I knew it was
yeah,
coming.
that one
Because
too.
that's
Still
a good.
mine.
All right.
I hate
All
that
right.
movie.
All right. I gotta think about this movie. I don't. I could.
I'm
Really
in.
I take it.
saw
I
it
so
finally, and I'm
take
like,
it or
it's
leave
okay.
it.
I don't
But
care
but
for it.
but
Yeah.
it is. I will give you this though. From a business perspective, it is a masterclass on
Marketing.
film marketing.
Doesn't make it a good movie.
It does make it a good movie,
you're not
but it
wrong.
is a masterclass on film marketing.
I'm going to repeat what he said. That doesn't make it a good movie.
Correct.
But I get it. It
Yeah.
was one of the first movies that never really showed you anything.
Correct. And also all the marketing leading up to it, and the whole mythos about how they're actually being real.
That was the
Like,
marketing.
yeah.
genius
Like I mean,
behind it.
the marketing genius behind actually.
The
being-
mockumentary on the Sci-Fi Channel is better than the actual movie.
It's funny how those documentaries sometimes are better than the actual damn movies.
Yeah.
I guess sometimes behind the scenes material is more entertaining than the movie itself.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Hey, what was that movie we saw where there was they were making a movie? He hired people to follow him and do an interview while he was going to said, "Here's what's going to happen," and he explained the slasher genre to a T. And he says, "What's going to happen in these?
You told us about this
They're
movie.
going to come up to
Yeah.
this room and they're going to start having sex, and then I'm going to come out and I'm going to kill them there."
I
And
feel
he's
like it's
explaining
like
everything.
a simple title.
Behind the Mask, Rise
Behind the
of
Yes.
mask. That was it.
Yeah.
Because then he actually goes about killing them, and then the reporter's like, "What the fuck? We got to get out of here." And he planned for that too. He planned for them freaking out, all based on movies, all based
That
on
was a really
slasher
good
movies.
one.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Taking Scream and Cabin in the Woods to the nth degree.
Exactly. Well, more of the Scream kind of genre because they were the killers who were planning everything.
And-
But it was also very cool because you could tell he was a film student, right? Because
Oh,
he was
yeah.
talking about how the slasher genre always allows for the woman to trip in the woods and always allows for them
Oh, they
to go
trip over
upstairs and have
everything.
sex, and so
The no, I
it
definitely.
was entertaining.
So I was always a fan of The Conjuring though. The I didn't.
Conjuring's good.
I was a fan of
Yeah.
The Conjuring, not
Yeah.
what turned the other things that turned into the Conjuring universe. I
You
wasn't.
like
a
the
fan.
first movie.
Yeah.
I like the first movie.
Okay.
The first movie. I
It's
don't
the only
need
one
the,
you've seen.
I refuse to watch The Nun. I'm not gonna watch it.
What about the two?
Actually, the Nun wasn't
I
that
didn't see two
bad.
yet. I wanna see two.
None was. It's like okay, it's not as bad as everybody
No, it
says
wasn't
it
that
is, but
scary.
it's just like whatever. I mean,
The
Why?
that's actually so. What is that might be an easier question for you. Then what's a horror movie that you hate that everyone else loves?
Now that he stole Blair Witch Project, I think of
Son
another
of
one.
that.
I didn't really care for Insidious.
Okay.
I don't really have any reason why.
I liked Insidious.
I enjoyed it. Like,
I liked
I love
Insidious.
all the,
I don't
I love all
hate
four
it.
of them.
Yeah, I mean the whole scary face, the clown face that pops up behind him or whatever while he's talking. That was a pretty scary movie.
I just thought it was a great concept. I'm like the whole dream thing, and it's not completely ripping off like Nightmare. I'm like, I
Right.
love this. This is great.
Yeah, it
The,
was a good
No
take on
astral
that.
projection.
I'm a sucker for
But
interesting concepts.
You hated that one then.
I didn't hate it. Like
Oh.
I'm trying to think of one that I hated, but Insidious is one that I just didn't care for.
You can jump on the Blair Witch Project.
A lot of
hate
people.
Club,
are
I'm
like,
with you.
yeah, I'll double down.
Yeah,
on Blair Witch
alright.
Project.
Pretty
Right.
popular hate
That's-
train.
That's how bad it was. that
it's
we
a
need two of us to voice
ve-
that one.
Very popular
Right.
hate train.
Yep.
The no, and I get it. I get the
Yeah.
hate. I get the hate behind it. It's
I do enjoy the third Blair Witch movie on a this is so ridiculous I'm kind of enjoying it level.
Shaky Cam 9000.
Right, it's like I'm getting nauseous off the first one. Why would I go watch 2 or 3?
the,
I don't know what
because
possessed me to see the third
aliens.
one.
Now you're in her.
Have you seen?
I love
have you
it.
seen the most recent Blair Witch?
No, because it's
I
a Blair
didn't.
Witch.
I didn't
So-
know there was a most recent
There-
Blair
I don't
Witch.
There
It's,
wasn't.
it's just called Blair Witch. There is time travel. There are aliens.
Oh, okay.
So is that your
It's
genre?
bad.
Is aliens?
No, my brother and I, we used to watch Ancient Aliens every Friday. We would have like a little thing.
I
He
used to
would-
come in and spoil it every
But
time I'd
he
walk in and say,
doesn't
aliens!
understand. He doesn't understand.
Wait, it was
that
aliens.
That's the whole point.
Oh, wait, because they were aliens.
So
Because then when you go like to the mall or something and you see something like, why is that the way it is?
It's aliens.
Aliens.
So big fan of Stargate. So cool. Got it. Cool. Got it. The
He doesn't understand
Stargate
the
was-
humor.
It's because
Of
it's
it.
aliens. The dude combs his hair up to look freakier
And
to give him
crazier.
street cred
yeah.
Yeah.
as being a crazy.
Yeah, every season it gets bigger and
It
bigger.
does.
when you reach the mythos of a meme, you know what else?
Yeah.
Right.
What else is there in life?
Right.
The
I love the cat one. Aliens.
Of course you do. The you know what the funny thing is I totally forgot. Oh, just found footage movies. There can be good ones and there can be bad ones. You know,
They got beat to death.
They're mostly
though.
bad.
They
They're
got beat. The
Um,
whole
Mostly bad.
that whole genre got beat to death. Not a genre.
the
style.
one I love the most, and a lot of people hated was
As above, so below.
no, but that's a really good one. And Wreck is a really good one too. That's the French film that Quarantine is based off of.
Oh.
You know that one.
Did we watch that one?
Wreck meaning record. But my favorite
Oh,
one
right.
Yeah, that
though
one.
is they did the spin-off with John Goodman.
Cloverfield.
Cloverfield,
Cloverfield.
the
Yeah,
original
that's a
Cloverfield.
good one.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my favorite of the found footage because it actually is good and it's engrossing.
That's
Yeah.
an example of where they used it correctly.
correct.
Because it wasn't, it was an actual as you're going along kind of thing. Not a shaking goddamn camera in the woods
Right.
and then showing a pile of sticks.
Yeah, no,
There's
you.
a big difference.
And it gives you monsters too.
Yes,
yeah,
it
and they
does.
show them on. They
And
show
it leaves
'em.
you wanting more.
And
Yes.
you watch some girl
Yeah.
explode. So
Yeah.
that,
Oh yeah, but that's
that,
behind a curtain.
hey,
That's
you
PG-13.
you take what
The
you
splatter
that's
is what you
PG-13.
want.
I hate
It's the
PG-13.
splatter.
you take what you can get, man. What are you gonna do?
Right.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the big things. By the way, I remembered a horror movie that I saw first. I originally
Yeah.
was gonna say Blade, but I remember one that was before it. It was called I think White Noise.
Oh
with
yeah.
with
Michael
Michael
Keaton.
with Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
About
Oh,
the
yeah.
ghosts in the TV and how his neighbor got murdered. That was the first time I ever saw like plastic sheeting on furniture that quite like that.
Yeah.
But I don't remember anything besides that. And besides it scaring the shit out of me as a
I
kid.
do remember some of that. That was more of the ghost done
Yeah, that was
right
definitely
kind
the
of thing.
ghost stuff
Yeah,
and
but
everything
that
else.
was well
His
done.
neighbor got murdered and they buried her in the
Right.
basement and it was a whole thing.
Right,
The
right.
you know
What
just
was the one
typical
with,
stuff.
with Kristen Bell? And they put the
The horror movie with Kristen Bell?
Yeah, they had to put paper over the windows. That's
Oh,
what it reminded me of.
to keep out the light.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like we're playing like a game.
Oh yeah,
But
no,
it's
this is
like-
definitely this is hugely what we do. We do this for fun, not even in front of cameras.
they put up the newspaper over the way, and they made sure to tape all the way around it so the light wouldn't get in, and it was like red light that was out there a
Yeah.
lot. And it was something where they couldn't go outside.
Hey kids,
or
this
something.
is what people used to do
Wow.
before the internet. We should just bullshit and try to remember the movies.
You said it was Christian Bell?
Yeah, Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell,
From The Good Place.
Yeah, I know. I'm
Cute as a button.
Yeah,
Kristen
yeah.
Bell.
She's adorable and funny as hell.
Yeah, you're gonna need to look that one up.
What?
You can
Yeah,
use the internet.
where's the IMDb?
He's-
Who's getting it first?
IMDb guru.
Mark's getting it.
And no,
We're
that's
giving
Who's
up.
on
You get
IMDb?
it?
no. This is Brandon's domain.
Is it?
The so yeah, but in case you guys didn't notice, this is what we do.
Yeah.
So I hope So I think we have a lot more in common than we.
We're having fun.
Oh, absolutely having fun. But yeah, this is all we do.
Who's gonna get to it first?
Was it earlier in her career?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the year?
Nope.
Nope.
I don't remember what I had for breakfast. You want me to remember?
Pancakes.
It wasn't Pulse, was it?
Pulse.
Pulse. That was it. Yep.
Damn it.
Was it like the early
Guys-
2000s? Like
Yeah, that was a
Possibly.
remake of a Japanese movie, which I hear the Japanese original
Oh, that was
really
during
good.
that phase of remaking the Japanese movies into American movies.
Oh,
Yeah.
like
Got
Ring
caught
and
like
all that.
Ring and
The
Grudge
fucking
and
Grudge.
and
Right.
a
You didn't
bunch
like
of them.
Grudge?
It's so annoying. The reason I can't take those movies seriously is because one, that boy looks like the younger version of my buddy Ethan, and on top of it, the kid meows. I'm like,
Yeah.
You like
Yeah.
cats.
what the fuck is this?
The
This is
meowing
stupid.
part was a little weird, but that all in all was a great movie. though.
I just couldn't.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is stupid.
It brought new kind of fear that I never knew hair could be terrifying until
Eh.
that.
I like The Ring. The Ring was fun.
Yeah.
I thought that was a cool concept, and
Yeah.
that caused pranks for fucking days when after we
Yeah.
saw it. It's like, yeah, it's
The
just, we were those kids.
Man, it makes some pretty good Scary Movie 1 and Scary Movie 2. The
Scary Movie 3.
Scary Movie 3 is
Yeah.
I
is-
love that
is-
one
is
so
fucking-
much.
Yeah.
It kind of got way over here, you know.
Is that the one with the wheelchair, or was that in 2?
That was.
Where what's his name was?
That was the. Was that the first scary movie?
Oh, that was the
I think
first.
that is the
one?
first one.
The Scary Movie 3 was the one that did Signs, The Ring,
The
and
Charlie Sheen was in.
yeah,
Charlie
Charlie
Sheen
Sheen
was in it. Yeah.
2 was like a spoof of
Exorcist,
Haunting of
The
Hill
Mansion,
House
and-
Haunting and all that
And
stuff.
then
one
one of them
was Scream.
One of
One was
them.
Scream,
One of
yeah.
them. Well, obviously the first one was Scream, but which, by the way, is the original title of Scream. Was Scary Movie.
Really?
Yeah.
That would have made him more sense, actually.
Right.
You could think of the Harvey the Weinstein brothers for that one for that
Yeah.
change.
I'm not going to be thanking them for a lot of stuff.
Let's stay away from that topic.
I said that very
Let's
sarcastically.
give the credit to somebody else right
Yeah.
now.
I said that very
He's
sarcastically.
definitely not going to sponsor the podcast.
Yeah,
think.
no,
Okay, I have a.
The
I have a
I'll donate 3 packs of cigarettes and a shiv.
All right, I have a question. What are your thoughts on A24 horror films, or just A24 films? Because they're not horror. They're
Zach.
just
All right, all right. No, Brandon is the podcast. We're not in a business meeting. He is allowed to do this. We actually made a ruling. Zach is not allowed to talk about A24 during business hours.
Why?
Because he hates them so much that he will dedicate too much time to talking about how much he hates A24 films.
That's a leading question. He's
the,
like,
I'm coming up with some.
I'm frightened.
I've never
So-
seen such pretentious indie crap in my life. Like, everyone's like, it's the most horrifying thing in the world. Nothing happens!
Yeah, it's all hype. But that's what they're doing. They're doing the whole thing for like the Blair Witch thing. They hype it up to make you think it's going to be scary, so you get that anticipation, and then it's always a letdown.
It's a disaster.
All the movies, Frankenstein, Wolfman, all the original movies, the posters and the trailers were so much more entertaining than the actual movies sometimes.
Yeah.
Now they're looked at as classics, and there's a lot of great acting in there. But there's also a lot of piss poor acting in a lot of those movies.
Yeah.
But the posters looked awesome, man.
Yeah, of course.
Attack of the Crab people, come on, that's cool. When you saw the rubber guys it was horrible.
It's just like, oh,
But the
well.
poster looked awesome. That's all. It's all hype.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah.
Not to dismiss your hate for them.
Oh, no, don't worry.
'Cause-
It's all just bottled up in here.
Yeah,
Got it.
it runs deep.
Yeah.
It's
These
definitely
roots run deep.
I personally don't give a shit.
Uh,
I think I've actually only seen a couple of their movies and liked 2.
Yeah, I only like 2 as
which-
well, and one of them they had little to nothing to do with.
And and we like the same one. It's
Disaster Artist.
I didn't see Disaster Artist and
Ex Machina.
Ex Machina. Ex Machina is the one, but Ex Machina would have been a good movie.
Ex Machina
regardless,
is- I-
regardless of who the hell produced it.
okay, I was going to say, it's not like you didn't like Ex
Yeah.
Machina then.
No, I
no,
did
no,
like
no,
that.
Ex
That
Machina.
was actually
That
my
was a
first
really
A24
good
movie, and I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking great.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
every movie I saw after that, I'm like, this is bad, this is terrible, what the fuck, What the
Right.
fuck? Is there a story? And I should stop.
Yeah.
When Zach gets on A24, you almost like have to see the bouncing ball like, as he says the lyrics. This is bad, this is bad, this is bad, bad, bad,
That's
this is bad, fuck this shit, fuck this shit.
I always wanted to make up a separate production company called B25, and it's just spoofs of A24 movies.
Why aren't we doing that?
Yeah. Mystery Science
Oh.
I'm too
3000.
busy trying to do one network, all right?
Let alone 2 right now. So that's just terrible.
It's something.
That's I was gonna say something about A24, but I'm done with A24. I'm gonna leave it over there where it belongs.
Midsummer is not a good movie.
Which one?
Midsummer, whatever the hell
I
it's
made
called.
it halfway through that one.
Yeah, we almost finished it, but we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do keep thinking, well, gee, how did that one end?
Yeah.
I kind
It
of think
doesn't.
I'd be disappointed.
doesn't.
Spoiler alert.
Really?
There is no such
See-
thing as an ending in an A24 film.
Okay, all right, I get that.
No such thing as a climax either.
I get that's funny on a couple levels. I think that.
That means 2 things.
Yeah, that means two.
God, I love Family Guy. Literally, like most of A24 can be wrapped up in, with the exception of, and I don't have as much hate, but I have humor towards it. There's a great thing in Family Guy when Brian brings a blind guy to go see Blair Witch Project, and literally he's describing it. And he's like, nothing's happening. Something about a map. Nothing's happening, and it's over.
And it's over.
People in the audience look pissed. That sets up.
That was good.
That reminds us of a few films that we've seen
Like,
over the years.
it was always funny when I used to work at a theater, just listening to the audiences coming out of it. You'd see the younger crowds like, "Oh my god, it spoke to me," and then you'd see normal people or older people like, "What the fuck was that?"
Right? It's like, did we sit through the whole thing? I think my
I get
wife
into
passed
arguments
out.
with my buddy. He's just like, "That movie is a masterpiece. How is it a masterpiece?
Right.
Tell me the story."
Right.
Dude, it's
And
like,
he can't.
Right.
like A24 is literally like watching that Shia LaBeouf like motivational speech.
Watching his meltdown.
Yeah, they melts out, or that whole like that other video where he like has the giant heads performing. That's a real thing.
It's a whole music video. It's
I
great.
love
whole
that.
music
Just
video
lots
like
of
with
stuff.
like giant Shia LaBeouf heads, and then it's a whole production, and at the end of it, it literally turns to the audience, and it's only Shia LaBeouf in the audience, and that's the meme where you see him clapping like this. It's from that. That's a real.
Can we go back to like the most uncomfortable scene in a movie? I think that would be it for me.
What?
Would be watching
Just a
Shia
bunch of
LaBeouf
giant,
and-
big-headed
Watch Shia LaBeouf's watching that.
It made me uncomfortable when he did that video, the music video with for what's her face?
For Sia?
Sia.
He did a music video?
He
That was
danced
it?
in
He
it.
danced.
You know, Sia's video's got that younger girl that was from some Dance Moms thing or something, and
They're in like a cage and they
Yeah, they're in a
dance
cage
inside
and
and
he's-
outside.
Cause sure, why?
He's way too old.
and he's
to
dancing
be...
half naked
Yeah.
with this little kid.
The
No, I'm a bad place to go. Okay.
Don't go
the
there.
oh,
We
that-
loved it. It's a sponsor. It's a sponsor. It was wonderful.
Just edit that out.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, because Shia LaBeouf
Somebody
will
make a
haunt us
mental
all in our
note.
nightmares.
Put a pin in that one.
So kids, if you go home tonight and you look in the mirror and you say Shia LaBeouf 3 times, he'll show up and dance behind you.
You gotta say it 5 times, Mark. Shia LaBeouf, Shia LaBeouf, Shia LaBeouf, Shia LaBeouf, Shia
Don't
LaBeouf.
do it.
How did you do that?
that is actually, and that's the song too, by the way. It's the Shia
Oh.
LaBeouf song.
I am never watching
I
that.
think we're getting the signal that we're almost out of time. So
we're gonna wrap this up.
Question around
The,
that.
Yeah, we can't end it on Shia.
Yeah, no, not at all, not
Something
at all.
correlated, Mark.
The,
One more
Society!
question.
The
Society!
Society for
Full
Science. The well, I obviously want to end it on any of the cool pieces that you're coming up. Anything.
So follow us will be on Facebook, of course. We've got we can do links and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then tell that camera over there too.
Oh,
You can look directly
there you
into
go.
it and do your plug.
Yeah. So you can follow us on Facebook. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We have a website, blackmartinbrands.com, where you can buy more than just this stuff. In fact, a lot of this stuff that we make is show stuff because they're one-of-a-kind pieces. But we've had a lot of requests to sell it online, so we will be moving a lot of these dolls and some of these products we will be selling online.
We do have some Amy's Abominations on there right now.
We do have the Amy's Abominations, but you can also get other stuff there too. You can also get some good clothes. Some other vendors that we meet at the shows who do T-shirts and hats and things like that. We sell their stuff on our website as well.
Wonderful. Well, hey, thank you so much. Thank you both of you for hanging out and talking about society and travel.
Thanks for taking care of my baby.
Oh, and my baby! My baby! I love it. I love this. Is so fucking cool. Like, it's so fucking cool. I don't even like dolls that much. It's so fucking cool. So thank you so much as always, everybody. Please go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on the Midwest Horror Network, on all things YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and then Zach, where else can they find us? Slasher, the new social media network. Highly recommend it for you guys too.
Yeah.
It's entirely app-based right now. There's no web version, so if you want to get it, you need to have a mobile phone, and bam.
Correct.
Right, well,
But please, we want to get the word out about all of our great interviewees and all the great stuff that we got going at Midwest Horror Network. Check out our narrative show, Living Nightmares, and please like, share, subscribe, and share it with your aunts, brothers, sisters, uncles, best friends, as Spaceballs would teach us. Thank you so much, and stay safe out there, everybody.